Hey, everybody, it's Rebecca of Supergirl Radio. We're running a few minutes behind, but we'll get started here in a little bit. I just thought I'd pop on because I like to be punctual with these live streams. Y'all show up at 8 o'clock my time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and you expect something to be live. So I'm going to pop in here and until we get started officially. So welcome to everybody who is going to watch and hang out with us. It looks like Andy's trying to get people to subscribe to the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. Yes, you should. I know some of y'all aren't. I know at least half of y'all are not subscribed to the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. Why is that? Why wouldn't you just want to follow and get notifications for every time we go live? Makes it easier for me. So I highly recommend it. We have a lot of good content. So definitely check that out. Fun fact, I tried adding YouTube chapter markers today, and I might have gone a little overboard because I get real specific about each of the different segments of our episodes. So I found out that when you do that, that's where ads would be placed, and that would have been a lot of ads. Not that we can't monetize this channel until we get 1,000 subscribers anyway, but I was like, oh, that's good to know. So we'll be adding chapter markers in the YouTube videos, but maybe I won't go so crazy. I got real specific. So we'll try to maybe do some of those, but maybe not too many, just in case in the future that becomes an issue. So yeah, so we have some YouTube changes going on. Also, we'll talk about this when we get into the episode, but we have a little contest that we're going to announce tonight. I'm very personally excited about it because I think it's going to be unique to Supergirl Radio, and I think everybody will have a lot of fun with it. I know I probably will. So get excited about that. We do have the Supergirl Radio Legal Consultants waiting in the wings. So if you have any questions about Lex Luthor's trial, that big trial that I think somehow now implicates Lena, I'm very curious about this, because I don't know what happened. So we're going to pick Leslie and Susan's brains to figure out what should have happened and what didn't happen. Because I think maybe both of those things are true. So we'll get to that. So if you have any questions about Lex Luthor's trial, definitely put them in the chat and we will get to them. We already have some questions from listeners, but feel free to ask them as well. I know everybody was very confused about that, as well as the Alex Kelly scene at the end. So we'll talk about that. There will probably be just to tease some things we'll probably talk about. There was a chess mention that was brought to our attention through an email that I thought was really interesting. So we'll get to that. We'll definitely be doing a little boardroom or ballroom because Lena's maroon purple dress, that definitely requires conversation. So we'll be talking about that as well. And let's see if we have anything in the chat. Oh, it looks like we've got Claude Knowlton here with us tonight. So a new actor on the show playing Silas. So we'll definitely be talking about Silas and his story. And thank you for being with us tonight and participating in our live stream. Just get comfortable. These tend to go about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We have so much fun hanging out together and talking about Supergirl. So it could go long. Just a word of warning if you have something else you've got going on. So thanks for joining us. And we'll definitely be talking about the new character of Silas. And it looks like Morgan is with us. So thank you, Morgan, for joining us.
Sure. Anytime. I figured I'd just roll on by, see what's going on. Who wants to be on time? What is time?
It's hard sometimes, right? It's difficult. Okay, so I guess we can officially begin now since Morgan finally decided to show up. No, I'm just kidding. I know. I guess.
Now everyone can see how often I'm late to these things now that we're doing live streams.
Before we did live streaming, I'd message Morgan like, hey, can you give me like 15 more minutes? I've got some more notes I got to do. Like we would do that all the time. And now we can't do that.
No, it really
places to be.
to be on time, which is a hard thing for me. Struggle.
It is tough. Okay, so we will officially get started now. So if you have any Supergirl thoughts, send them in the chat and we'll get to talking about them.
Benoist, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review the Supergirl Season 6 episode titled A Few Good Women. There were a few of them.
Just a couple.
Like
a handful.
A few good women in this episode. And like A Few Good Men, there was a courtroom drama that happened.
I object to a lot of that storyline.
And we do have the Supergirl Radio Legal Consultants with us to break down everything that happened in Lex Luthor's trial. So we'll get to your questions because I know I have some. Our listeners had some.
So many,
so many questions. So we'll see what they say because I just a spoiler alert. I don't think they were very happy about it either. So so I don't think the show did a great job with the legal part, but we'll talk about that. But before we get into the episode, we need to get to
the news.
That's me.
Yeah, I had you going first with the news this time.
That was a mistake. According to Thomas Lennon's Instagram, oh, I know why you did this. Mrs. Pillock might be returning for the final season of Supergirl. He posted a video with the text saying, "You won't be ready at Supergirl CW."
Am I that transparent? I guess I am.
Yeah. That's really exciting.
So I'm curious now how if Mixie does come back, what capacity is he coming back in?
That hair is intense, isn't it? I've never really focused on it as much as I do in that TikTok.
Yeah, he definitely played with it to style it a certain way. But he does. If you're not watching the video, Thomas Lennon posted a video on his Instagram where he teases. I don't know if that's one of those chairs, like a little, the sign on the back of the chairs that the cast sits in. But he does have a Supergirl image that has, I guess it's Mr. Mixyas-Pitalik. So it sounds like he is coming back for the final season. So this will be the third appearance of Mixyas-Pitalik?
Yeah, because it was season 2, right? Last season.
Season 2, he tried to marry Supergirl. He was very into that.
Yeah, last season when he was like, Cara Danvers, this is your life. Lena's always mad at you. And then I don't know what's he got up his sleeves for this season. I'm excited. It's always something fun with him.
Yeah, I think Thomas Lennon is a really good Mixie. Peter Gaudio was also great. He played a different take on it, but I think Thomas Lennon is a really good fit for that character. So I'm excited to see him come back. So we'll have to wait and see when he shows up because who knows when that will be. I wonder if he'll be in these first 7 episodes before we go on the TBD hiatus. I don't know when that's going to happen.
I kind of hope. I hope so, but it seems unlikely if he's filming now.
Yeah, let's see. Rachel says there were set photos featuring him. So I guess he is shooting things now. I try not to look at the set pictures. I tell people all the time, don't don't send me things. I don't want. I'm trying to keep it
I don't
spoiler
want
free
to
as possible. Although I got spoiled on the mystery character in the Phantom Zone this week, and I was not happy about it. Because I was really pulling for Zoltar, but
I know. I wanted to see Jason Bear in like just a comfy sweater, like a comfy multicolored sweater. That's the kind of energy I wanted from him. It's okay. It was still great. He was still great.
Yeah, but he was good as the character of Zor-El, the recasting of Kara's father. So we'll get to talking about that as well. The other news that we have, and this is Supergirl Radio news. We are announcing a new contest. We like to throw a contest here on the podcast to give people free, awesome stuff. So we commissioned our friend and podcast guest at Olin Samuel on Twitter, and you'll also find Olin Samuel on Instagram to draw what we refer to as flat Supergirl, for a lack of a better term. I don't know if there's a better name that we can give her. But this is what we're talking about here, and she is the cutest. And what this is basically, and I can also show you mine if I can get to it. Hang on a second. I've got a lot of moving parts. Okay, so I have my flat Supergirl here. Is she green screening?
She's not. She's there's no green on her. She's good. A good thing it wasn't a flat brainy, or else it would just straight in.
You would not see anything. So I will make this go full screen. So what this is basically we have a link in the video description that you can go and click on, and you can print out this flat Supergirl. If y'all have a better name for her, feel free to let us know. But you print it out, and I didn't do a great job cutting. I almost cut her foot off, but it's fine. It'll work. But you cut out the Supergirl, and then I just taped her to a little popsicle stick. Shout out to Steel City Pops, the best popsicles in Alabama, in my opinion. So you'll create your flat Supergirl, and then you'll take her with you somewhere. To some awesome location in your city, or doing mundane chores with you at your house, and you're just going to take a picture. You can either do a selfie with her, or you can just take a picture of her doing things or being in locations.
Put her to work. Make her do some housework for you.
Yeah. So the idea of this contest is you're going to take a picture, your choice, be creative as you like, with your flat Supergirl. And you're going to tag us in those posts. Can be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and do it throughout the season. You can enter multiple times, take as many pictures as you want, and by the end of the season, probably in the series finale. It's not going to be the season finale this year. It's going to be the series finale.
That bums me out.
That does bum me out a little bit. But in our live stream, our discussion and review of the series finale, we will pick a winner of all the things. Pick a winner of the pictures that you guys tag us in. So tag Supergirl Radio, and we picked a hashtag Supergirl Adventures. So make sure you use the hashtag as well. There is that hashtag does exist, but I think they're like two posts on Twitter. So I think
okay. We're taking it over. Sorry.
We're just going to co-opt it. So basically, we're just
like the time slot used to be.
Right. So we are going to just have fun with this. The idea of it is, Supergirl's ending, but you can literally take her with you.
Yeah,
it's sort of an emotional metaphor.
She'll be in your heart, but also maybe in your pocket. Your purse, anywhere.
So have fun with this. It starts now. If you want to print it out and cut it out while you're watching the live stream, go for it. But yeah, so this I'll probably be trying some of these photo ops with my flat Supergirl who is almost missing a toe. But feel free to start doing that this week, and we'll compile them and judge them by the end of the season. And the person who gets picked a winner, we'll send you some free stuff, because everybody loves free stuff.
That's exciting.
Maybe from TeePublic. So if you like stuff in our TeePublic store, we'll send you some stuff. And so that is our contest that we are going to do. I'm going to put Flat Supergirl away. She's going to, I don't know if I can
I have to say, I
maybe
have
I
to
could
highlight
put her with my microphone.
I have to highlight this comment because it made me actually laugh as you were talking. Danny says, have her do something she would never do, like writing an article.
Like going to work.
Take her to work with you so she can experience what work is like. She's never been.
Kara doesn't do much work. She could actually take some lessons from Nia, because Nia actually, she was like, oh, I got a text message from Catco. I got to go to work. So,
oh no, I've got to go to work. She was offended too. She was a little offended. Oh, what?
So maybe your flag Supergirl could teach the Kara of the TV show a thing or two. So just wanted to let everybody know that is a contest that we're going to hold for the rest of this final season. So with that, Morgan, should we get started talking about the episode? Because we got a lot to talk about.
We've got a lot to dig into on this one.
All right. So here is the official description. Quote, as the stakes with Lex are raised higher than ever before, Lena must decide how far she is willing to go to stop her brother. Meanwhile, Supergirl and the team are faced with a challenge unlike anything they've ever dealt with before, and it brings Alex to her breaking point. I guess breaking point is throwing Chinese food against the wall. Is that...
I mean, she wasted some Chinese food. That's dark.
I mean, that's when you know Alex is really hitting a rough
when
patch.
She's throwing the pot stickers against the wall. Oof, it's gotten real.
All right, so I want to start this conversation off talking about power. Can we talk about power?
Should we talk about power?
I feel like we should talk about power. It is the theme of the season, as we all know. And I just want to point out, let's see, I'm gonna count how many times it was said. So the word power, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with a variation on power with powerful. So I just want to play a clip from a couple of episodes ago, just to kind of get a conversation started.
You can have a theme, but it doesn't all have to be okay. Well, now everybody's got to be about power.
There's going to be a word of the episode. You can guarantee it. In the first episode, they're going to drop the word power 5 times.
Rebecca, that was powerful.
I just want to say I was right, and they actually did it more than I thought they would. I thought 5 was like the bare minimum. Like you can't do more than 5. That's just really pushing it. But they went overboard.
Vindication.
But that's to be expected. It's the first episode of the season. This starting this new storyline. So I guess they had to get it in there, hit that theme hard. So I guess my question is, I could talk about the some of the writing and how I thought it was pretty awful and terrible. But maybe we'll actually be more introspective and thoughtful about it. So Morgan, who do you think was wielding power and who was lacking power in this episode?
It's a good question. That's like a book club question. I like it. I like it.
And we like book clubs here.
We do. We had fun with the last book club. All of me is thinking about this question. Not just a piece of me.
Not just part of you.
Not just part of me. All of me. Well, obviously, Lex Luthor is very powerful. He gives what I would consider an unhinged speech, and somehow it works in that courtroom. I think it's we also have Lena sort of taking back her power, going like, no, you can't just take over my mind control weapon and make it bad.
But did she lose? But did she lose power by the end of it? Because
she takes her power back, and she's like, "I'm going to look in the face of the person who's like kind of tormented me the most in my life, except for my mom, and I'm going to take my power back, and I'm going to say no, sir." And he flips it on her, and he takes her power away. I think by the end, but she's not down and out. She's like, "Okay, well, let's regroup." Who knows what's going on with Andrea ever. I think William's mad about something. He seemed real cranky.
He just kind of watched TV all episode. I guess he was supposed to serve as the audience ombudsman. Is that the correct use of that? I'm trying to
News it up.
Have bigger words in my vocabulary. But I guess he was like supposed to be the audience, like watching the trial as it was happening. But it also kind of seemed like he didn't have anything to do in this episode.
The world's fastest court trial.
Yeah, it did seem like it happened within like a day. I don't know.
And then, of course, we have Kara, our main character, who had lost her power in the Phantom Zone, but then rediscovers a figure from her past. It's Zor-El. Zor-El, who's kind of gone a little bit Phantom Zone crazy, but like not as much as you'd expect. So like, good for you, dude. Good for you. And then I think, for Nia, I think it's a big power episode because she gets to train a thing we almost never get to see her do when she's trying to develop a new power. Usually they just pop up randomly. So I thought that was fun. And then Alex obviously realizes by the end of the episode when she's throwing those pot stickers that she's kind of powerless to save her sister. So,
yeah. And one thing about Dreamer, which I thought was really interesting, is that Brainy has to give her a pep talk because she feels like she's not as powerful as she should be, that she wishes she had the ability to control her power a little better and be a better hero. So that was kind of an interesting little wrinkle for Dreamer there. But I'm curious about what other people thought, because I think I agree with you on most things. The one character I don't think we mentioned was Lillian. Do you think she's
listen, Lillian, like if she had a word, I think it would be power. She knows how to rock a power suit. She knows how to be the most powerful person in most rooms. She knows how to flip the script when you think she's out. She's like, actually, no, I'm not. So she does sort of change midstream on what horse she's backing, and by horse I mean child.
Horses do play a big part of the Lex Lena relationship.
that is true. Lena's still mad about it. Lex is still mad about it. Clearly,
I'm surprised it didn't come up in the trial. I thought
it would have been great as he's ranting and he's like, she was always off with her horses. I was never invited to ride.
If it had continued on, I'm sure he would have introduced that as some kind of evidence.
There's probably like on the cutting room floor, like 10 minutes of John Cryer just like talking about horses that they were like, I think we went too far with this.
Yeah, so there are lots of good thoughts here in the chat. Taylor says William was deflated by the end of the episode. Yeah, he was sort of kind of giving up. He was like, what's the point of this anymore? Which is the question I was kind of asking about Catco. So I'm glad he voiced it. And also to that point, Andrea's kind of feeling powerless. She says, what did she say? She has some great line about how she had messed up with Catco. Oh,
you would think that she'd be feeling a little bit better about all that fraud that she did last week.
She did do some fraud.
And she got away with it, presumably so far. So.
Yeah, and I guess things are fine with her and her dad. I don't know.
Andrea, maybe look at the silver lining and think about all that fraud you got away with. You're cool.
Yeah, she feels kind of down and out about what happened to Catco, but she wants to talk about the power of the press. So that's her whole driving force, I guess, of the season. She wants to build Catco up because she completely eviscerated Obsidian North, which.
And almost some people's brains.
Almost some people's brains. And so Andrea is a character I have questions about when we get with the legal consultant.
I have so many questions about Andrea, by the way. Does it seem to you as if everybody is forgiving her very fast and very easily?
I guess this goes back to the question we had before, is like, how is Cat, like, why is she still working there? She should not have that job.
Why has she not been fired?
I don't understand how she still has a job. I don't know. I guess Obsidian North, but see, Obsidian North and Catco were connected, right?
They were connected, definitely. Yeah, they were like one parent company. From what I understood, like, let's see the org chart. I ask this a lot, but if I could just see the org chart, how do they connect?
Yeah, because I would assume that, like, if you screwed up one company and completely eviscerated it to the point of trying to mind control the world, it doesn't seem like people would be really happy about you running the other company.
It doesn't seem like people would trust you, but I feel like, do you remember that 30 Rock joke where it turns out that like NBC is owned by Shineheart Wig Company?
Yes.
Like, I feel like
there is an org chart on 30 Rock.
Yes,
Pulls
like,
it down
what-
in the shade
that's
thing.
what we need. We need to find out, like, what's the Shineheart Wig Company that's that's like the Catco and Obsidian North holding company, like that's over top of everybody. Because I don't. Why is anybody allowing her to still be the CEO? I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. But I guess they trust her enough at Catco that she is still running and assigning things for Catco magazine, which they said it was a magazine this week.
Okay, cool, fun.
Last week it was a newspaper. This week it's a magazine. It's great. Well, I guess she was doing her Lex Posés as like editorials in the magazine. I guess that makes sense.
That tracks.
But it also kind of seems like that would be outdated by the time putting a magazine together is not like a quick turnaround.
No,
I actually have to publish a magazine for my job, and I do it once a year, and it stresses me out, and it takes me like 3 months to do.
It's very hard. Like, you're not just like opening up InDesign and going like, hold on, I'll just put it wherever. Like, what? Did they not watch The Devil Wears Prada, where Meryl Streep talks about how cerulean blue becomes a popular color? Like, do you think that Anna Wintour is just like, okay, let's just get out the daily magazine of Vogue? What? No, that's not.
I guess maybe Catco and its worldwide media. I guess they've got it down to a
maybe Catco,
real science.
Maybe Catco is more like People magazine. It's just like
maybe
like you
like
open
a
it up
weekly.
and there's like a lot of pictures of like people taking out their garbage, like local national city celebrities like taking out their garbage, like Supergirl. She's just like the rest of us.
Now I would buy it if it was more like a People.
Yeah, me too.
That comes out pretty quickly.
And there's not the font's really large.
Yeah, I can maybe buy it there. But yeah, the Andrea stuff, I didn't understand too much about why she still has a job. But she was trying to get Lena to get on camera and confess her sins. And then Lena did it anyway, but just in a courtroom setting. So it was fine. So that was really interesting.
It seems like Lena, I guess, because of her own experiences of kind of flirting with the dark side, seemed to really give up on, like, just really accept Andrea, despite the fact that, like, I don't know, what's the timeline on this show? How many days ago was it that Andrea tried to kill someone? Like actual murder. She's like, Lena, I do have to say thanks for talking me down from that murder. Lena's like, please, who among us, right? Am I right?
She did a little fraud. She did try to kill Supergirl. So she has done some things.
In the reality of the show, I need to know a timeline, because in the reality show, how long ago was that? Like, how much time is passing? That was a question I had a lot in this episode, especially with the courtroom stuff, but also like them trying to find her from the Phantom Zone. Like, how long's she been in there? How long has it been?
It seems pretty quick, because didn't they? Okay, in the premiere, which was actually supposed to be the season 5 finale, but we'll call it for the premiere because technically that's what it was. But they defeated Leviathan, who we still
by giving up on them.
It's just want to remind everybody, it's episode 2 of season 6. We still don't know who the head of Leviathan is, and I don't think we'll ever know. So I guess that's a thing I'm going to have to make peace with. But they defeated Leviathan, and then Supergirl goes into the Phantom Zone, and it seems like they just picked it up from there. So it seems like a really quick turnaround. Seems like everything's happening right after each other. So I don't know the exact timeline, but it seems like things have progressed quickly. So I guess, Morgan, I'll turn it over to you. What are some things that you want to talk about? What are some characters? Or just remember, we're going to save all the legal stuff.
All the legal stuff
for a special segment.
I can't wait, because that's really so much of that is what I want to talk about. Let's see. What do I want? Well, I guess like the car stuff I thought was pretty interesting. So I do have some questions and specifically for you. And I was going to text you and then I was like, I should save it for the podcast. Related questions.
I'm nervous.
The Phantom Zone, this interpretation of the Phantom Zone, I want to know, is this how it's been in other comic versions? Because it seemed like, are there Dementors usually in the Phantom Zone?
And the Dementors?
Yeah, is that like a Phantom Zone thing that's popped up in other versions? It seems new to me.
If I remember correctly, Smallville had some actual phantoms that would fly around. I've never seen any that looked like kind of living beings.
That
normally,
suck the joy out of you. Is that felt like a new wrinkle?
but if you eat some chocolate, you'll be okay. You'll recover pretty quickly if you eat some chocolate. But no, I think this was different in the fact that they actually, like, Smallville had, phantom like things. Do you remember at the end of season 3 when those like phantom thingies like carried Rain away, and that's how they got rid of Rain?
Yes,
that's kind of what I think the phantoms from Smallville, if I remember correctly, were kind of like. They were like kind of little ghostly, translucent sort of,
because I was getting strong Prisoner of Azkaban vibes. But I didn't want to judge it too harshly because I was like, I don't remember. I haven't read every, Superman thing, and there's so many different interpretations of what any Superman story aspect is. So possibly this is pulled from something. This like the idea of there being phantoms in the Phantom Zone, and they like suck out your joy until you're just a hollow husk, and you're in wizard jail. So.
Well, okay, so let's run down what the Phantom Zone and the Phantoms do. So the Phantoms are what make the Phantom Zone so terrible. They feed on your fear, making you live it. They're like shadow spores that creep inside you and affect everything good and right, and then turn it against the host. Your nightmare becomes your reality, and it's possible to go insane. And Zor-El even says the Phantom Zone isn't something you can fight. So I can't remember if there are other interpretations of the Phantom Zone where like it haunted you. I always thought the phantoms were just kind of like pests that would bother you and like fly around and make your life miserable. I've never seen like the eyes go white and like making you relive your worst nightmare kind of thing. I don't think I can't remember. It's interesting in the Silver Age comics of Supergirl, especially with the Leslar stuff. But I think it even happens with the Superman stuff, especially when like Mon-El goes into the Phantom Zone. It's usually depicted as more black and white, more monochrome than a colorful place. So I think in those comics, it's just kind of like you're in prison. It's not like a terrible, like it's a terrible place because you can't get out or you're not supposed to get out, but I don't think it does anything to your mind.
Yeah, that seemed like a new interpretation of the Phantom Zone to me. And I was like, oh, okay. I was just wondering if there was any basis in like Superman lore or like comics or anything. Because I was going to be like, oh yeah, it's like Harry Potter. And then I figured like people are going to be like, no, it's actually exactly like the Phantom Zone. I was like, okay. So I wanted to just like preface my question.
Yeah, if anybody in the chat has some thoughts on that, let us know if there's something that we're missing. I need to go back and rewatch Krypton season 2, I believe, is when they go to the Phantom Zone there. That was pretty cool, the way they depicted. If I remember correctly, it was more like you were in this like big room, and I remember like mirrors in there. I need to go back and rewatch it, but it was a pretty cool way to depict it. There's also a different Phantom Zone in I want to say it's the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah, I feel like I watched that fairly recently and I couldn't tell you, but yes, I believe that they do go there.
So maybe we'll do like it's not a character, but maybe we could do a character spotlight on the Phantom Zone after the show is over.
We could.
Since we didn't get a chance to do it because surprise, the show came back and we weren't prepared for it.
Whoops.
So maybe we'll
tell us.
we'll go back and do some research on the different depictions of the Phantom Zone.
Now, do you think that Zor-El is real, or do you think that he's like a figment of her imagination caused by the Phantom Zone weirdness?
Okay, so we have some listener theories about that, actually, that I was going to do in the feedback, but now seems like a good time. So Katie wrote in with 2 theories. She says, I have a theory that Kara's dad isn't really in the Phantom Zone, but is actually a figment of her imagination meant to discourage her and slowly attribute to her insanity while there. She also has a theory that, she's worried that Lex will convince the DA to bring charges against Lena. So that could definitely happen. So Katie thinks that maybe something's going on with Zor-El. And Gina also wrote in about Zor-El saying, quote, I'm a little suspicious about Kara finding her actual father in the Phantom Zone. I don't know if her getting her mother and father back is conducive to her whole story arc about losing her whole world, unquote. So Morgan, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think Gina makes a really good point. If the thing that really attracted me to the character of Supergirl and what I think made her so different than Superman is that she lived on Krypton. She had a life there. She had a family there. And then Krypton exploded. She lost all of that. And now it seems like on the show, she's just going to have a happy ending with her mother and father. And so I don't know. That takes away a little bit of the tragedy of her character that I always thought made her so hopeful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can also see a scenario in which the Zor-El who's been in the Phantom Zone for a really long time, still looking great, by the way, Jason Baird. Well, it doesn't age.
Time doesn't pass there.
I was texting Sarah from DCTV After Dark, and we used to love Roswell in high school, and I used to have such a big crush on Jason Baird. And so when he popped up, I was like, oh, and then so I'm texting her pictures like he hasn't aged, and he really hasn't. It's insane how young he still looks.
Yeah, there's something about that Phantom Zone beard.
I know.
Yeah, he did look good.
Looking good, Jason Baird. But I kind of wonder if if he gets to leave the Phantom Zone and he is indeed not just a figment of her imagination, did the Phantom Zone change him? Is he gonna be maybe kind of bad? Because I think we've certainly seen some Zor-Els that were not so nice. In Rebirth, he was like the cyborg Superman Zor-El, but he was not a cool dude. It does feel like
he was trying to use people's bodies to resurrect his dead loved ones, if I recall, like turning people into zombies, if I remember correctly.
I feel like one of our complaints about the Rebirth comic is that it feels like she discovers that her dad maybe wasn't such a good dude like every other issue. But I wonder, is that what we're gonna get on the show? Is she gonna finally she escapes the Phantom Zone, she's got her dad, but dad, and he's like, oh, I'm free.
But he can't become cyborg Superman because we already had cyborg Superman. You remember when David Harewood had the half of the Phantom of the Opera mask?
It's pretty great.
It was not great.
Those are some times.
So we've already
dark secret.
So we have seen cyborg Superman, so he couldn't do that. So I think there are maybe 2 options for Zor-El. Well, actually, I guess 3, since we've got some listener theories. 1, he's a sort of a figment of Kara's imagination as she slowly becomes more insane as she spends time in the Phantom Zone. Or he could go the way of Zoltar, where he helps Kara escape, but he doesn't make it. That could be something that happens. And maybe that, he serves his purpose after such a long time, but maybe she doesn't get that happy ending, but she does, get help from him. Or 3, they both go into the portal through the anchor of Fort Roz, which I was like, what?
I didn't follow that at all, by the way.
So it's possible that they have a happy ending. I don't know how I feel about it exactly. Let me see, just to make sure we're on the same page about the Fort Roz thing. Allura once told Kara that Fort Roz is rooted in space above the rocks by an anchor. My question is, did the people of Argo do that, or did it just, because Kara chunked Fort Roz into space, and I just thought it was floating in space.
I'm just trying to, just map it out. Okay.
Yeah, so
That's very confusing. I feel like sometimes with the Supergirl storylines, instead of just kind of doing something direct, they like come up with the most convoluted explanation that like I feel like it's hard for me to follow it. And like, what is the casual viewer of this show? Or like they following that it's rooted in like by a thing in space, the Fort Ross, or because I'm not.
I mean, if we're having trouble with it, the general public who doesn't really know much about this stuff probably is like, okay, whatever. I guess that's a thing. So I guess maybe people, I don't want to underestimate people's ability to understand stories. I can accurately describe my inability to understand stories.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to judge anybody else's. So I'm assuming maybe people at least will have heard it. I don't know if they'll have understood it, but yeah. So I guess there is that. That's kind of how they're supposed to get out of the Phantom Zone. They've got to go through a portal in the base of Fort Ross. And we saw at the and we saw at the end of the episode there was a portal. They did find it, if I remember correctly. So
yeah, well, a couple of the Phantoms escaped the Phantom Zone. So in some ways, I think that they can really thank the Super Friends for there being a way out, and also Silas, the vampire alien
from Transylvania.
Did them a super solid. He's like, sorry about your possession, though. We do feel bad about that, but thanks for that little crack in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that they just left a portal to the Phantom Zone open. I was like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing? But
just in case she got just in case she wants to like walk in. It's like a doggy door to the Phantom Zone.
Now why did you do that? But they got it closed down. They got all the Phantoms back in there. So I guess speaking of Silas, we did have Claude Knowlton who plays Silas in the chat earlier. So what? Not that should color your thoughts on the character or the performance. But what did you think about getting to meet Silas? Because I think we're going to be spending more time with him.
I think so too. So my question was like, first and foremost, is this has this ever have this race of alien vampires from Transylvania is that a basis in the comics, or were they just having a good time?
I don't know of any. I was trying to think if there were any vampire aliens in DC. If anybody in the chat knows, let us know.
I was like, this is new and I like it.
I was a little disappointed, I'm gonna be honest, because I was like, no Kryptonian werewolves? You had it there, right there. You could have introduced.
They're working up to it. We're gonna have the vampire aliens from Transylvania. Then we're gonna get Kryptonian werewolves, and then by October, we're doing the Monster Mash.
Yes, Halloween episode.
It's gonna be a graveyard smash.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna be so disappointed if that isn't.
We keep pitching such great ideas.
So good. It's such a good idea. Yeah, my question was, because I was trying to figure out because it was so specific for him to be a vampire. He could have just been, I mean, we've seen aliens before where like they have like interesting ears, or they have, things on their hands or their arms or something, but he had a very vampiric need to get the blood, and he did a lot of the same things that Sam Witwer does on Being Human when he is a vampire. He's like, I work at a hospital, I'll just steal this blood.
gotta break into the blood bank. What is the alternative though? Silas is kind of in a tough position, but it does make me have some questions about his homeworld of Transylvania. Like where are they getting the blood from there? If everyone's vampire.
That's a good point.
Who are they getting the blood from?
Is that how they all become vampires?
Or
they're
is
just
that like
constantly turning each other into vampires?
It's just a never-ending cycle.
That's how they have a whole planet.
A vampiric human centipede over there. But no, or is it a thing where like a Kryptonian like thing where suddenly she's super powered on Earth because of the yellow sun? Like maybe when he got to Earth, he was like, oh, what a great planet. He's like walking outside and he's like, why do I want human blood?
Maybe it could be something like that. I just was trying to find, because because it could have been any kind of alien. Any kind. I mean, you could have had Kryptonian werewolves. So why a vampire was my question. I don't know if that's going to come into play in
vampires.
Is he going to be able to? Well, I guess he can't fight the Phantoms that way, because he was, rightfully scared of the Phantoms and what they could do. So I don't think his vampire teeth could help him against the Phantoms. So I was just curious, like, why vampires? Just because the writers liked vampires? I don't know.
It did kind of feel that way, honestly. It was like, you know what, zany? Vampires. And like, listen, I kind of like that chaotic energy. I'm kind of there with them, honestly. I was like, why are they at a blood bank? Is that a vampire? Am I watching Buffy? I'm into it.
I will say, Claude, you rocked the fangs really well.
Good luck.
Much like Laura Vandervoort as Indigo with her great hand acting, I think Claude was really working the fang action because he really embraced, because that's got to be hard to have like stuff in your teeth.
The prosthetics. Yeah.
So the ability to kind of show them without like it being weird or awkward. So I guess that's got to be tough to play a vampire, but I thought Claude as Silas was good, and I thought the character Silas had some really good moments, especially with Kelly there when she was trying to help him kind of get over the guilt that he had over Owen and not being able to save his husband.
I think they were married, right?
I think that's right. So I thought that was it was a really good. I'm always so thankful when there are like character beats on this show,
right?
I don't have to like make a whole bunch of notes about what the Phantoms do and what Brainy has done with his simulation. I can just like watch a scene.
Yeah, when it's like based in character stuff. And I thought that what was really great about his character that they introduced was not only that the backstory was really interesting, and honestly, I wanted to get more into it. I was like, I want to know more about this backstory. Like, how did they meet? Like, how did his husband get into the Phantom Zone? Like, they touched on it, but they didn't really get too far into it. But I think it really gave that Phantom Zone storyline a lot of heft, because we see Kara in there and we see that it's a scary place with Dementors and stuff. And we see her, her father, maybe, who's her father. He's a little cranky in there, certainly, but looking great. But Silas, I think, brings home like how scary the Phantom Zone is and how tough it is for the other people, the people on the other side who, we're going to see, obviously, all of the Super Friends, but especially Alex, that's what happens when it's your person who's gone and you're trying everything to get them back. And I think, there was kind of I think you could see in Silas kind of like what could happen with Alex if she gets so far into this and she like can't let go and has to keep trying.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that from Alex's point of view, because I just connected more to that Silas Kelly scene. But Alex did have a moment with him where she tried to get him to shut that Phantom Zone portal, and he did it by banging on a tablet. And I was like, no, that's not how any of this works. Like, you can't like hit an iPad to make it work. It's gonna break it.
Listen, Silas is very smart, and he came up with an app for that. Okay,
I did notice it. I was like, what app is he using to make this Phantom Zone technology?
Phantom Zone, the app.
The only thing that I questioned about his story was that Silas's husband Owen was falsely accused of theft and sentenced to 6 months in the Phantom Zone. 6 months seems like a short stint in the Phantom Zone. I always thought the Phantom Zone was like for hardened criminals that, like 6 months, you can put him somewhere else.
It does feel like you committed a minor crime and then they threw you immediately into solitary confinement, right? Like it's in a Supermax facility. They're like, oof, you shoplifted a box of raisins and now straight into the Supermax solitary confinement, 6 months. We'll see ya. If you're still mentally there.
Hope you enjoy those nightmares who drive you insane.
Yeah, it did seem ridiculous. Like the punishment and the crime were not equal in any way. And also, who is still sending people to is the Phantom Zone like a catch-all prison industrial complex for like the entire universe, DC universe?
It seems like, because I thought
it was a Kryptonian thing.
It should be, but I think didn't John send people to the Phantom Zone?
Shoot, he totally did. Yeah.
Yeah, and Allura was an adjudicator who could sentence people to the Phantom Zone. So I don't know. I guess Transylvania was like, no more of this. Into the Phantom Zone you go.
Like Transylvania, like what are the laws there? It's what a rough place to.
You don't get serious. They're just turning each other into vampires. It's a wild place.
You don't want to break the law on Transylvania, okay? Because they're gonna send you into the Phantom Zone. You're gonna lose your mind. 6 months. Also, I think we have some big questions about how time passes normally and then how time passes in the Phantom Zone, because I think that's going to become a problem for the show, but I think that they're going to choose not to acknowledge it. Because, right, so Supergirl, when she got stuck in the Phantom Zone, she was in there for like, what, 24 years or something?
10 to 24 years.
Somewhere between
according to the show.
24. She might have been awake for 10 and then napped for 14. We don't know.
Sure.
We can't judge her choices. But like when she got out, she was the same age and everybody else had just grown up. So do you think that the writers have spent any time at all being like, one day in the Phantom Zone is equal to, because I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. It would sort of make sense. It would make sense if like she comes out and like Alex has a kid, and like because like
the longer that she's in there, the more time that passes for her that she's in there, like the more time, way more time should be passing on the outside. So like some time has passed, some indeterminate amount of time has passed between episode 1 and 2, right? But like, has that been like 20 minutes for her?
I think the time passage, we're supposed to maybe pay attention to the time passage in the present.
Okay.
And maybe not so much in the Phantom Zone. But to answer your question, no, I don't think they've thought about this at all. That's my answer to your question.
I don't either. And to be fair, it makes my brain hurt when I start to think about it too much. So I stopped too. I was like, wait, well, I mean, we've only seen her like kind of talk to Jor-El, so maybe she's only been there for like, 15 minutes. It's just been a real tough 15 minutes.
Oh, one thing I was a little disappointed with the car stuff because, I'm
sorry, I'm going to highlight one comment that Katie made, which is, it was long enough where her bangs grew out, girl. Good point. We didn't talk about it at all, but she woke up in the Phantom Zone, bangs gone.
She looks so different than when the episode stills came out. I sent Morgan a picture and I was like, this doesn't look like Melissa Benoist. Are we sure this is Melissa?
I was pinching and zooming in on the photo.
I don't know who this is, but this is not Melissa Benoist. So yeah, it was very strange. I was a little disappointed with the Kara, like the Supergirl in the Phantom Zone stuff, because I thought episode 2, all Phantom Zone, we're gonna get in there, we're gonna like spend time in the Phantom Zone, and it was just a couple of scenes. Like it felt like it was more Lex and the Super Friends than it was in the Phantom Zone. And this is her reconnection with her she thought dead father. I would think that would be a bigger deal if my dad died in 2006. If I had the opportunity to meet with my dad again, I wouldn't immediately go, hey, let's go put ourselves in a dangerous situation.
Yeah,
I'd be like, hey, let me take this in a little bit and talk to you before we go out into a dangerous situation that puts both of our lives at risk.
She didn't even be like, hey, let me tell you about my life. I have this sister and I have this job I don't go to and a series of uninspiring love interests. And like, she didn't tell him anything about her friends, about her life. She was just like, all right, Dad, here we go out the tunnel. Like, I kind of like the Phantom Zone stuff. Yeah, I thought it was going to be all Phantom. I thought we were going to be in the zone.
Oh,
the Phantom Zone.
I like it.
But we really weren't. But at least the Silas storyline, right? That connected to the Phantom Zone. And I felt the emotion of that. It was the other stuff where I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I was not happy with the lack of Phantom Zone. I wanted more Phantom Zone out of all of that, but maybe that's coming. Maybe that's for a future. I'm sure there's a whole progression of the Phantom Zone storyline coming up. Now they let a Phantom out, and poor Silas, he's just trying to live his life, drink his blood in his kitchen.
What's gonna happen to him?
They have recruited him to relive the most terrible parts of his life.
Which he did for them to be to them, right? They're like, could you just sit down for a second? Just tell us all about the most traumatic parts of your life. He's like, sure, bro. And then they're like, okay, we're just gonna let some phantoms out. They're gonna possess you. It's like, what? That doesn't seem like a fair. Did they at least take him out for dinner after this whole thing? Like
their agreement with him was they would not report him to the authorities about his blood robbery if he worked with them. So I guess
they could at least take him out to like the karaoke bar, right?
A minor little bit of blackmail, I think, is what's happening.
He spent all that time creating that whole system so that he could get into the Phantom Zone. They just jumped on that and they yelled at him the whole time. Like, hey, I'm sorry. That doesn't just happen. He needs like a second to think. I was going to like report them to their own HR. I was like, excuse me, this is a hostile work environment. You give Silas some space.
Yeah, I guess the HR department is Magan. She's the one who was like, you need to cool it.
So true. Well, now that we don't have Pam from HR and the DEO anymore, poor Magan is going to be, oh my gosh, that's going to be a tough job for her.
Do we have the DEO anymore? Because Jean mentions Fort Ross files. And I was like, where are you getting Fort Ross files? Isn't that from the DEO?
Yeah, right.
Do you just keep that at your house? Is that just in the
He's
tower?
like, hold on my Fort Ross files. He just like pulls it out of his wallet.
What?
He's got him folded up.
In defense of Silas, Claude says it wasn't his choice to smack the iPad. So, so we'll take that into consideration about that, because I just know with my iPad, I've broken screens and things. So I know it doesn't work. And Nicole says, as a scientist, I can 100% say that a failing experiment does not get better when you smack the tech. So there's that.
I have often, when like something isn't working on my phone, I'm like, come on. So I understand the impulse.
Oh no, I do not hit them. I recently, just within the last week, RIP to my external hard drive.
No,
it was devastating. I think I dropped it maybe a little too hard, and it just all my files are gone.
Oh no! Oh my god! That's like
fun
making
fact.
me sweat.
Oh, it's so horrendous. Because I took it just for a fun fact. I hate Best Buy because it's actually the worst buy. But I went over there to the Geek Squad and I was like, hey, can you help me maybe try to retrieve my files? And then the guy came back and he was like, so your drive's not mounting. So it's going to cost somewhere between $200 and $3,000. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, what?
What is that range?
And then I called, this has nothing to do with Supergirl, but I just thought it was a funny story. So then I called the people who are like, this is their job, like outside of Geek Squad is like this whole, like, I forget what it's called, like file savers or something. I don't know. I can't remember what the company was called. And so I asked him, like, why is this so expensive? And he was like, well, you have to take it into a very high-tech room that's like sterile environment, because if you open the drive, and I was like, oh my gosh, forget it. I don't need the files that bad. It's fine. So just be good to your technical equipment. Be good to it. Be very
sorry,
gentle.
I'll never smack you again.
So I go through that long story just to say, don't smack your iPad. Be very gentle with it. It will work for you.
Respect your iPad.
Respect your technical smart technology. So I guess we kind of hit all the highlights from the episode. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, Morgan?
I'm just going to put this comment up on the screen because I did not remember this. So Nicole says, remember Jean had that whole reserve of old DEO files when Kara was trying to find Project Maury. I
don't remember that at all.
Yeah, okay. Good memory. I didn't remember that. So I like the idea that like at some point after Jean left the DEO, he just walked back in, took a bunch of files, photocopied them, and then left again.
Which is
like top secret files.
Totally not illegal, I'm sure. Totally on the
I'm sure that was probably during Alex's tenure, and he was like, "Hey, Alex, I'm just going to copy some files. I'm going to leave then." And she's like, "Cool, let's get a Starbucks afterwards."
I was very skeptical of where he was pulling these Fort Ross files, but I guess that makes sense.
This is definitely like before Colonel Haley, because I don't feel like I think she ran a tight ship. She wouldn't have allowed that to happen.
Okay, so should we bring? We have a couple of things that we need to get to. So one is legal consultants, and the other is boardroom or ballroom. Because Morgan, we need to talk about that maroon purple dress that Lena was wearing. So which one do you want to do first? I feel like since we have guests, maybe we should do the legal consultants first.
I think so. Yeah,
and then we'll
I've
get
got
into that.
So many questions for that. Everybody does, really.
And Morgan, I put together a little sound effect for it. If you hate me afterwards, we'll never use it again. But it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. So we're going to use this right now for the legal consultants, and then we'll bring Leslie and Susan in.
Talking about the law.
I don't know if you remember saying that on the podcast, but I used it as a sound effect. All right, so I love it. It makes me laugh.
It's really great. I'm a beautiful singer.
Okay, so let's bring in Susan and Leslie into the live stream. Let's see. Do we have some echoes somewhere? If y'all are watching the live stream, turn the live stream off. Let's see if I can find where the echo is, because we're hearing it coming back out. Okay. No, I still hear the echo. Where is that? Let's see. Am I still talking? Okay. Sounds like Susan is okay.
A little bit. Oh, yeah, I definitely heard an echo there.
Is it me?
Yeah. If Leslie was watching on YouTube, then she has to shut that down for the echo to go away.
Leslie, if you want to turn the live stream off so that we don't have any things going on.
I don't have it up. The only thing I have up is StreamYard.
Okay. Well, in that case, I will shut up, and because I think it's me, maybe.
Well, maybe I can just fill time and say thank you for the sound effect. I loved it.
Good.
Very nice.
Good. Well, we'll try to maybe workshop it, make it a little jazzier. It's in its early stages, but this is my concept for it. But yeah, so I guess we could go down the list of questions. So Morgan, do you want to pull up those questions in the doc, and then
sure,
and then we'll go through those, because we already have some pre-sent in questions, and we'll get to those.
Yeah,
can I temporarily hijack and make an introductory comment?
Please do.
I was getting prepared for this, and I realized that the only thing about this courtroom scene that resembled real life was that there was a judge and the prosecutor on one side and the defense counsel on the other side. So whoever in the chat said the best way to approach it is to go with the flow, I would like to encourage that mindset for this entire discussion.
Except there wasn't a defense counsel. There was a defendant who was representing himself.
Yeah.
But fair point.
And he was allowed to walk around the entire courtroom, even though he was charged with being a mass murderer, and come up near and talk to the judge, and then tell the judge what to do.
Yeah, just based on my my true crime binge watching, I can say that usually it's a bad sign when they start defending themselves, when they're like, no, I'm so smart that I don't need a lawyer. That's usually not a good sign. So I was like, when the end of the episode came and he got away, I was like, what? He went Bundy and he still got away with it?
In real time, someone doesn't have a lawyer is normally when they are unfortunately not able to afford one.
Yeah, or they think they know everything, and also they suspect that they can get away with saying things that an attorney could not get away with, because then the attorney would be disciplined by the judge and the bar. And also the judge has to help self-represented defendants. The judge was lame. The prosecutor was terrible.
Well, there were apparently no rules of evidence at all that applied to this proceeding, so it was a little hard to assess.
It was very interesting. So I'm ready for the questions. And one thing that I could not believe was Lena saying Eve was the fruit of the poisonous tree. I found that highly annoying. Eve cannot be fruit of the poisonous tree. Fruit of the poisonous tree is a constitutional doctrine that applies to the government, the United States, or a state government that tries to use illegal evidence that's derived from, or use evidence, good evidence, but it's derived from illegal evidence, such as you derive evidence from an illegal search and seizure. And the illegal search is the poisonous tree, and whatever evidence you derive from the poisonous tree is the fruit. Eve is not the fruit of the poisonous tree. What she is an impeached witness whose credibility has been attacked. And you don't throw out her evidence in the middle of the trial. You don't do that. That does not happen. The prosecutor gets to try to rehabilitate her, but the evidence doesn't get thrown out.
And a good prosecutor would have brought out on her direct testimony that she actually had a relationship with Lex, yes, and wouldn't have given him the opportunity to engage in this cross-examination where some sort of surprising bombshell came out to the jury that accomplished something.
How did the prosecutor?
I question the quality of the prosecution in the case as a starting point, setting aside that she created her entire case based on one witness that would clearly have been rattled by the defendant representing himself.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions about the prosecutor and their case, or lack thereof, that it all fell apart once they found out like this piece of information that didn't seem like it was super well hidden.
No, the prosecutor should have known that Eve was in love with Lex. What did she think was going on with Lex and Eve?
Is that something as a prosecutor you would ask your witness? Like you would want to get that information before she goes up on the stand to prep the witness for it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes. And she should have been, you prep your witness to have tactics on how to deal with an attempt to impugn or impeach her credibility and to make her look bad.
Although, to be fair to this prosecutor, what Lex was actually doing was borderline engaging in cross-examination and mostly closing argument.
Yeah, no, this was bad because Lex would ask questions and then he would turn to the jury and start talking to the jury. That is not allowed. What is the judge doing? Nothing. What is the prosecutor doing? Nothing. And when Lex goes on his, 1 minute rant against Lena and he's doing a summation, you can't do that. You don't go from cross-examination right to summation. And the show left the impression that the defendant sums up last. That's not correct. The prosecutor gets the last word.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
And also, how did Lena end up on the witness stand in the first place? Because the prosecutor had already finished her case. The defense hadn't really put on a case, so there was nothing to rebut.
Doesn't have
right.
to.
No, he doesn't have to, right. But there was nothing to rebut. So the prosecution doesn't get to bring a new rebuttal witness when there's nothing to rebut. She should have had to put Lena on in her case in chief.
Well, she was attempting to bolster her case and bolster Eve's testimony.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to do that.
No, you are. When your case is being attacked, and you are allowed to bring in rebuttal witnesses. But Lena went from watching the trial on TV in the same purple outfit to wearing the same purple outfit, walking into the courtroom and getting on the stand. Lena had to be listed on a witness list.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. You
can't surprise a defendant like that. And the judge should have known as well. The judge was surprised.
Everyone was.
Lex was surprised, and Lena's wearing the same outfit. So she went from her apartment to the court.
She just busted in there.
It was a great outfit.
It was a great outfit.
It was fantastic.
That anybody involved but Lena knew that she was going to show up that day?
I'm sorry?
Not if you believe what she said to Andrea.
Yeah, I was like, do you think that anybody but Lena knew that she was going to show up that day? Like, did she just power walk her way into the courtroom and is like, I must be on the witness stand, and like just neither side knew about it?
Well, the prosecutor knew about it. but the prosecutor didn't even ask her good questions. The prosecutor should have brought out the fact that, well, I guess she did bring out Nando Cherry, but Lena should have taken the fifth. She admitted to some so-called crimes. Lex is charged with crimes against humanity. That's not a crime in the United States.
Well, it is in the UN. It is in the UN.
Yeah, the UN.
It's in international law, but it's not a federal crime. It's not a state crime. He's charged with the murder of Dr. Jared and conspiracy with Eve, but presumably Lena is a co-conspirator as well.
So I had a question about that because I was wondering why was Lillian not being charged? Why was Otis not being charged, or Lena? Like why was it just focused on Lex? Because they were just as much part of that as anybody else.
I think it's because the Super Friends captured Lex at the fortress and they turned him over to the authorities, and Otis and Lillian weren't there.
So they couldn't be brought up on.
I think that requires a certain level of logic and real world common sense being brought to decisions that maybe didn't actually happen here. But can I flag what Daryl just said in the chat? Because he makes a really good point, which is that going backwards, Lena pled the fifth under circumstances where she could not plead the fifth. But here, where she should have, she voluntarily walks into the courtroom.
Exactly. I was going to make that point.
Herself.
Yes, I was going to make that point. Yeah. And Lena thought that she did a really good job, but she did not. But I'm sorry to say
she's trying so hard.
No, but Lena thought that she had trapped Lex because she got him to admit that he stole Nando Cherry, turned it around and used it as mind control. But Lex turned it on its head and said that she could have committed the crimes for which he was standing trial. And what that is called is third party guilt, that someone else did the crimes that the defendant is charged with. And that's the reasonable doubt.
But you see, Leslie, it was all about the motive. Lena was going to mind control the world for good. She was going to make everybody nicer. So doesn't that make a difference?
It does not.
I also had a question about like Obsidian. Would nothing have come out of that? Like if your technology was used to nearly kill a bunch of people, like there wouldn't be anything?
Well, against Andrea Rojas?
Yeah. Or somebody involved.
Yeah. Well, it depends on their intentions, because there is this doctrine in copyright law that if there is a legitimate non-infringing purpose for the tech, then you can't hold the tech responsible for people engaging in infringement. That was the Sony Betamax lawsuit from long enough ago that I don't
No way. That's funny.
Yeah, like originally when the Betamax came out, all the Hollywood studios sued saying you are letting all of these consumers record television programs, and that's a copyright infringement. And Sony defended against the case saying, well, but you can also go to Blockbuster and rent a movie. And the Supreme Court held that as long as there was a legitimate non-infringing use for the technology, that Sony couldn't be held responsible for the infringement engaged in by the consumers. And that was the big fight in the Napster case many years later, where Napster got in trouble because they marketed it for purposes of engaging in copyright infringement. So if you apply that principle here, then if the motives and intentions of the tech were all good and happy, then you can't hold them liable. But, and now I'm going to turn it over to Leslie because I think she's thought through the how you get them better than I have. If the motives and the steps that they took were not completely innocent, then take it away, Leslie.
I don't think I think it's an invasion of privacy to try to control someone's mind, and that should be a crime somewhere. It's basically an assault at a minimum.
Does that have a constitution impact? Because if you're mind controlled, how do you have freedom of speech? How do you have freedom of religion or all your other freedoms? Because you're mind controlled. You don't have freedom. You lose your free will. Does that impact the Constitution?
All those constitutional rights are vis-a-vis the government.
Party.
Yeah, or vis-a-vis the government. It's why Twitter and Facebook as private companies can allow or ban whoever they want without violating the First Amendment. Same principle.
Right, but Obsidian North could be charged with corporate misconduct, and Andrea Rojas, and specifically with corporate misconduct. And maybe in another indictment, she would be charged and tried.
So we did have a listener question from @Walt658 who asks, why did none of the Super Friends testify against Lex? Should there have been character witnesses?
Bad prosecutor.
Well, it seemed like that prosecutor had no evidence, didn't it?
You can't have character witnesses against a defendant.
Well, that's a good point.
But a defendant can have character witnesses for himself, for being peaceful and nonviolent, or being truthful. But the prosecutor is not allowed to call character witnesses against a defendant. I was happy that the Super Friends were not paying attention to it, because this is the third trial that we've seen on Supergirl, and this is the second Lex trial. And frankly, I didn't want to see another trial.
I have to agree with you, and I think all courtroom scenes on all television shows and movies take a lot of creative license, because a normal trial, the shortest trial in the history of the world, is like a half a day or a day, and most really significant trials go on for weeks or months. So I took the lack of additional witnesses to be part of that creative license, as opposed to the just throw everything out the window and don't even try universe that they went into for this trial, for the rest of this trial.
The other thing too is with the jury, I'm sure for COVID reasons, the actors who were playing the jurors were appearing virtually, and I didn't know why. I thought perhaps it was a COVID thing, or the writers forgot that this is post-crisis, so Lex had not killed the jury and the judge after he turned the sun red and killed a whole bunch of people. So I didn't know whether the writers had forgotten that.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Right, but it's not. William said, but then again, I wasn't paying attention to anything William said.
You should.
So what I on my third rewatch, William said that Lex was, because people were threatening Lex, they had the jury appear virtually, but that makes no sense. They locked the courtroom down, and the judge and the prosecutor are there. So if the people are going to, so those people are still subject to being attacked.
Wouldn't they, wouldn't you just rescue those people?
I'm sorry.
Well, and the solution is to put Lex in handcuffs or with a guard, not to have the jury not actually be able to see the witnesses live.
Right. But the other thing, though, is there were 12 jurors. You have to have more than that. You have to have alternates, because people get sick and things happen. So that wasn't good. But you cannot, even in a COVID pandemic, the jury in a high profile trial like this, the jurors have to be present in the courtroom, socially distant. They cannot appear virtually, because you have to watch jurors like a hawk to make sure they're paying attention, not falling asleep, and that they
Can you imagine that on Zoom? That would
oh my God.
They fall asleep in the real courtroom sometimes. So does the judge.
Right. And not to embarrass them, you might, sort of slam your book or something like that. Or the judge might hit his or her microphone, and, so they aren't embarrassed. But you have to watch jurors like a hawk, and you have to make sure that they're not deliberating before they're supposed to, and that they have no outside influences. How can you do that when they're appearing virtually? You don't know who is in the room with them, who's talking with them, who's watching the computer with them.
Yeah, who's watching the case.
Right. So that was just bad.
What about the press? They said something about how the courtroom was on lockdown and they wouldn't be able to get in. Do you normally, like with a trial, is there normally a place for the press to gather outside?
Well,
yes,
federal court, yes, outside.
Yeah, the press the press and the public have a First Amendment right to attend most court proceedings. During COVID, they have, in high-profile cases, made accommodations. For example, having one pool reporter, but if there are cameras in the courtroom and you can actually see everything going on in the trial, it's a little bit less of a compelling argument that you should also be able to be there in person during a pandemic. But in most high-profile trials, criminal and civil, there's usually a row set aside for the media.
Right, but there's different states handle it differently, and the federal system handles it differently. The federal court isn't too keen on having cameras in their courtroom. The Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, still will not have cameras. They barely will let you have an audio recording, and they finally, I think, just relented to having an audio recording, and it's not simultaneous. You have to wait, and then you get a copy of the proceeding after it's over. Federal court is not too keen on, as I said, cameras in the courtroom, and certain state courts, you got to get permission from the head judge, and you have to have tons of notice.
It varies from state to state. Some states, like California, they're just, and state of Washington, they're routine. And so it's a kind of a real patchwork. But whether there's cameras or microphones allowed or not, there's actually a constitutional right of access for the public that the press is the one who argues most of the time. That's a First Amendment right.
Well, one other point I would like to raise is how Andrea Rojas said that she doesn't want Catco to be, or last week's episode, she didn't want Catco to be a clickbait rag, but it is a clickbait rag because she put up at the first day of the trial like 3 panels of a picture of Lex, and it said guilty, guilty, guilty.
She maybe jumped the gun on that a little.
Well, to be fair, how she has Catco is still an open question, given that.
Thank you.
Given that Catco, at least last I checked, was part of Obsidian North, and Obsidian North went under. How did she end up with I do not understand how she ended up with Catco. In theory, she got her father to buy her shares in some shady online thing suggesting it was a publicly traded company, but then somehow Catco mysteriously disengaged itself and got sold back to Andrea, secretly without the board or her father or anybody knowing this. I don't understand. And by the way, how they're not going to be bankrupt when everybody gets done suing over the Obsidian tech in the first place, I'm not sure.
Oh, no, it's driving me crazy. The whole Catco thing, that they seem to be just sweeping the Obsidian thing under the rug like it wouldn't be this huge problem. It's driving me kind of up the wall.
Yeah, Claudia asked the question, would there be more civil lawsuits about the mind control tech than a legal case?
The class action plaintiff's bar would be on a run.
Oh, yeah, right. Yep. Yep.
and since Obsidian seems to have no money and is probably bankrupt, they would sue Andrea personally, as well as probably Lena, based on her testimony on the witness stand. Well, probably Kelly also, because her job is so amorphous, she could be responsible for anything.
Oh man, Kelly could be involved.
Oh no, Kelly! She did log those tickets though.
She did, and she didn't follow up to make sure they got handled, so she was negligent.
I did have one question about the things that Lex did. He said he wanted to demand Eve Tessmacher's testimony to be stricken from the record and her plea deal revoked. Can he do that?
No, and he asked the judge really smugly. He stood in front of the bench, hands all on the bench.
Yeah.
And like wagging his finger in the judge's face. I mean, he should have been jumped on by several very large sheriff's officers or bailiffs.
Wait, wasn't Otis the bailiff at that point in time?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, well, in a bad wig. And but it's not the judge's responsibility to revoke Eve's plea deal or to prefer perjury charges against Eve. That's the prosecutor's job, who's sitting over there not doing anything and sort of fumbling with her hands.
Do we think I'm sorry, we have one question in our doc, which is, do we think that Lena has some kind of plea deal that she got in exchange for testimony? Because it does not seem that way, does it?
No.
It's not great.
No.
Not great for her. She probably should have talked that through first.
It sounded like at the end of the episode, something might be coming for her.
Yeah, Lex is calling the district attorney and asking the district attorney, as he should be asking. I mean, that's the person you ask, which is to bring Lena up on perjury charges or whatever.
What's confusing to me about all of this is that this was not limited to the United States. This was a worldwide thing. So of all the places in the world where you're going to bring Lex up on charges, why would you do it in the US in the first place? Why not, haul him into court in Russia or Saudi Arabia or someplace else where the outcome's a little bit more predetermined?
How could they? I guess my question is, how could they justify that though? How do you take? Because they mentioned it was this a federal case? Then they also mentioned national city. I was confused about that.
Well, no, there are federal courts in all states, and there's several. There could be three. Like in my state, there are 3 separate federal courts. So
yeah, he committed crimes against people everywhere, and so and who knows where he actually was physically at the time. So I think you could make a pretty good argument that he could be charged in other places also.
So would he just go from country to country and get put on trial? Is that how that would?
I think the better way to do it is to take him to The Hague and like where the Nuremberg trials were.
Oh yeah. That's probably the closest
thing. And also, conveniently, where crimes against humanity is actually an offense that you can charge someone with.
Exactly.
You wouldn't want to do that.
Well, are there other aspects before we let you ladies go? Are there other aspects that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
Yes. How about speaking truth to power that the prosecutor asked Eve about? I found that particularly annoying because what that is an injection, a non-nuanced injection of social justice in a courtroom proceeding, which the prosecutor is asking a witness to identify who's the perpetrator of a crime, and that's not speaking truth to justice. That's not an example of speaking truth to justice. Eve probably has spoken truth to justice in the sense that she's standing up outside the courtroom, she's standing up to Lex and saying and turning state's evidence against Lex and testifying against Lex. But once you're in the courtroom and you're asked to identify a defendant, that's not speaking truth to justice. That's just normal procedure. And the prosecutor is saying, speak truth to justice. That's basically telling the jury to send a message, and prosecutors are not allowed to say things like that.
That's a good point.
Yep. So I think I would like to end on a positive note and simply observe that as I was digesting the absurdity that was this entire courtroom proceeding, I remembered that this is a TV show about people who can fly, and took it with that in that spirit. It was pretty entertaining, if not at all realistic. And so at least I kind of got a lot of good laughs out of it. So I thank the show for that.
Yeah, I think that's how we have to look at it. At least we did get a great entrance for Lena. She stormed into the courtroom. It was very dramatic.
She walked in like a boss, like she was taking over that courtroom. She didn't really think through the repercussions, but she looked great while doing it.
And her outfit was awesome.
Very, very good.
So good. Well, I think this is going to end our time with the Supergirl Radio Legal Consultants. Leslie's going to come back for some snap judgments with us because she is a Legion of Super sponsor and she has those privileges. So we will actually... she's not just a Legion of Super sponsor. She is one of them, but there's a higher tier that gets you a Snappy Listener and Boardroom Boss that gets you the opportunity to make snap judgments with us. So actually, we could just throw this up real quick if we want to. So go to Patreon. No, it's this one, I think. Patreon.com/Supergirl Radio if you would like to make snap judgments with us.
You would like to make snap judgments.
Well. But in the meantime, thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Susan, for coming on.
My pleasure. It's
with
good
us.
Talking to you all. Thank you for having me. It's nice talking to you, Susan.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to the next time because there's going to be one.
There definitely will.
we would be so lost without you ladies because we had so many questions. So thank you for coming on and chatting with us. So I'm going to kick you all out And we are going to close up our legal consultants with our new jams. So
Talking about the law.
All right.
I'm just never ready for that.
We can change it if you don't like it, but I love
so
it.
Good.
I guess we can maybe get into our next segment here because speaking of the legal case with the awesome dress, I think we should get into some Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom. So let's do that.
And now, Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom.
All right, Morgan, let's break down this look from Lena. She had this fantastic, I guess, maroon, purple outfit on.
It almost skewed a little bit like oxblood, like a little bit like almost so purple is almost a little red. I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked how it came down the neckline. I really like the neckline,
and it kind of like cinched over to the side too. It's very cool. Yeah, she looked amazing. So if you're going to storm into a courtroom, you haven't gotten a plea deal, you're probably going to incriminate yourself. You're definitely going to get in a fight with your brother. This is the look for you.
She did look good in it. Paula suggests boardroom or courtroom for
yes.
these.
It's almost like she knew that, like, when she woke up that day, she's like, what am I going to do? Am I just, am I going to do some work? Am I going to go to Jamba Juice? Am I going to storm a courtroom and ruin my life a little? That's how she dressed. Like, she's like, what if I dressed today as if I was going to make a dramatic entrance into the most watched court case of the day? And I feel like, I look at Lena and some of her life choices. Some of her life choices could be better, right? But some of her life choices are correct. Like, we should all be dressing every day as if we were going to storm into a very popular court case in the middle of it dramatically and then incriminate ourselves.
I mean, your brother's on trial for crimes against humanity, whatever that means. But look your best when you go storming. You're
gonna want to put your best foot forward, is what you're gonna want to do. That outfit said, "I'm professional. I dress well. I maybe tried to mind control some people, but you still like me." I think it said what it needed to say in that scenario, which is kind of surprising, I will say, because what I'm used to with Lena and what I do love about her is that usually if you said, okay, Lena's going to show up dramatically in a courthouse to testify without being asked by anybody, I would think that she's coming in like, I don't know, it's either going to be like a full ball gown with like a tiara, or it's going to be like she just came from like the stables from riding a horse and she's like in jumpers and a little hat. And like, cause the way that she showed up was actually correct for the situation.
It was very appropriate.
I was confused a little bit. I was like, whoa, she's just going to show up in like a business, like a really nice business outfit, like a nice dress, nothing weird about it.
Yeah. And I think it also, this look was not just the dress. I think it was also the hair and the makeup were looking good too. So I think she nailed everything about this look and appropriate for the courtroom. It was a dramatic look for a very dramatic entrance. And I think she did a good job because I think she knew at some point she was going to be on camera. Because Andrea was pushing her to do an interview. So.
That's true. She was like, oh, if I have to do an interview, I got to look great. I also think that I'm going to just start just entering rooms the way she entered that courthouse, like throwing both doors open and just striding in. But like in all situations, even when it's like not like a child's birthday, I'm in it now. I'm striding in.
Do you not normally enter rooms? That's how I enter.
Not normally. Yeah, and you're right. You're right. And so is Lena. That's how you need to do it. Complete confidence, about to incriminate yourself.
Yeah, it is weird that she didn't consult an attorney before she walked in there, but
not a single one.
Who needs it when you're looking good that day? You're having a great hair day.
The prosecutor didn't consult an attorney either, so we're good.
All right. Well, I think that's going to take us out of this week's Boardroom or Ballroom. And this has been
Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom.
Okay, Morgan, final thoughts about this episode. A few good women. There were a few of them in there. They were all, mostly good, except for the ones that incriminated themselves.
She was trying. She was trying to be good.
She wants to...
the new road for her.
Yeah, she wants to do right by that Luthor name.
Yeah, she's listen, she's always been kind of tiptoeing along a line, and sometimes you're going to fall one way and sometimes you're going to fall another. She's mostly been on the good side with like a little bit of mind control.
So what are your thoughts on this? And I guess if you want to talk about the Alex Kelly thing here, yes, because I think we forgot about that.
I would love to yell about that, actually.
So Alex Kelly, and then final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up the discussion.
Sounds good. I'm incredibly mad about the Alex and Kelly thing. Because first off, we spent so much time. It was really a mystery. Does Kelly know? It seemed like yes, just based on context clues, but we had never seen her find out. And then, of course, last week we find out, no, she doesn't know. Okay, that's great. So now we're going to see this really dramatic scene between Alex and Kelly, where Alex tells her about how her sister is Supergirl, and they talk it through, and it's a whole thing. Alex was crying about it. Lena gave her a hug and was like, "Believe me,
Kelly?
Oh yeah,
no, Lena gave, yeah, okay,
yeah, gave her a hug. It was like, I've been through this before. Hopefully Kelly doesn't try to mind control anyone, but I think you're gonna be okay. If Kelly starts to make a little robot friend, you might want to get her in some additional therapy. I would have loved that last year, but so Alex is very upset about it, right? She's concerned about how it's gonna go, and then we get to this episode. And Kelly knows. Kelly already knows, which means that sometime between episode 1 and episode 2, off screen, Alex told Kelly.
It's weird because they underlined it in the premiere that you need to tell Kelly. You need to tell Kelly. And then I was confused because it seemed like in the beginning parts of the episode, Kelly knew that their mission was to get Supergirl back from the Phantom Zone. Then at the end in their scene, Alex has welcome home, Kara, on a sign. And then Kelly, and they're talking about her, getting her back. And so my thing was, well, if Kelly only thinks that Supergirl is who they need to get back, who does she think they're talking about? Because there's a welcome home Kara sign, and it's all about the Chinese food, and she's trying to get, Alex keeps talking about, we need to get her back. And so I was very confused. It almost seemed like they deleted a scene, because there's a moment with Kelly and Silas where Kelly is giving Silas that really good advice, and then there's a kind of a cutaway to Alex looking at them. It almost seemed like Alex was thinking, oh, well, she can handle a big secret or something.
Yeah,
and it seemed like that was going to be Alex's driving point to tell her the secret.
I thought we were leading up to that scene where she tells her the secret. And so imagine my surprise when at the end of the episode, she just knows it. And I understand that sometimes you have to cut things for time. It's television. It happens. It's so uncool to cut that scene. That is a big scene.
That's a big scene.
Alex and Kelly relationship, which frankly is already a little underwritten. And I feel like Alex hasn't gotten a lot of focus in the last season or two. And so to take away her big dramatic scene where she gets to tell her girlfriend about the big secret that everybody has is so not cool. There was not some fat from that episode. You couldn't have cut a little bit of Lex Luthor hamming it up in the courtroom.
My gosh, you could have cut
or
some
any
of that
or all of it. Could have cut all of the court stuff.
So it seems from the chat that it might have been a deleted scene. So Paula says Ozzy Tesfaye also promoted 602 and talked about the reveal. They did her dirty by cutting the scene. So it seems like a lot of people noticed that Ozzy had been talking about it as something that she was really excited about, or at least something that was coming up for Kelly. And I guess they just cut it. It
could have even been a short scene. Like, we saw a bunch of William doing random stuff. Take him out. He doesn't need to be like, just lift William out. If you need to cut something to make time, that's not the I'm mad because that's not the scene that you cut, right? That's a really big part of their character journeys, their character arcs, or emotional arcs, or relationship. We're never going to get to go back and have her tell her again. Like, now she just knows. And so we don't get to be part of that part of their relationship. So I'm so annoyed. It's like, I really want to care more about the Alex and Kelly thing, but it feels like every time I'm starting to get there, they pull the rug out, or they underwrite them, or they don't tell us, what Kelly's doing, or, what her job is, or, don't have you see Alex tell Kelly. And so it feels like disrespectful to that relationship. If you're a really big fan of them, you're mad. Even if you're not a fan of them, if you're a fan of Alex, if you're a fan of Kelly, if you're a fan of good storytelling that's built up, why even mention it in the last episode? They could have had it be a throwaway line of Alex going, well, I guess I have to tell Kelly. I'm sure she'll be okay with it.
Yeah, they didn't even have to do the whole scene. They could have just mentioned it. But yeah, the William stuff I would have cut that. You didn't need that. You had other William stuff that you were just watching TV. I think you can cut it. So that is really weird. Because I would be interested in what Kelly's reaction was. Would she just be like, yeah, I kind of figured. Like, would she have known, or would she have been shocked? I don't know.
They could have even played they could have played it as a big buildup and then had it been a short scene. So they could have had it been like Alex starts to build up and like all, scared. And then Kelly goes like, oh yeah, no, like James totally told me about that later. I just thought it'd be kind of weird to mention it. So I just like didn't want to get in your space. Then right out to the next scene. It could have been that fast, but that would have been some character development, right? We would have known that Kelly knew the whole time. Yeah. And then that would have been something that you now knew about Kelly.
Yeah. It's frustrating when that happens, because that it kind of shows what their priorities are at the moment in the editing process. Because the editing process is another like storytelling step. You have the writing, and then you have the shooting, where there's probably some other edits that happen when they shoot, and then there's the cutting room where they, that's the final product. So it is disappointing that that's what they chose to cut.
Yeah, it's Nicole in the chat says Ozzy said Kelly's reaction was sweet and that she wasn't mad. So clearly they did film this. So yeah. I'm mad on Ozzy's behalf. Honestly, I'm mad on Kyler Lee's behalf. Like, I'm mad on the character's behalf. It's just such a waste, honestly, to not show that moment. Because again, like we can't get it back, right? Like now she knows. Yeah, we'll never get that reveal scene for her. And we'll never get to see that nice, lovely scene where she's like, "Thanks for telling me," And I'm not surprised, because Kelly as a character is kind of like very even tempered, and I didn't think that she would get mad, but like, we want to see it because we're invested in these characters, but especially because Alex is, in a lot of ways, like the second lead on the show. And so if something big is happening with her, we want to see it. We don't want to just kind of have it vaguely alluded to off screen.
You mean like the murder of her father?
Jeremiah. At least it turned out Eve Tessmacher did that.
That was the only saving grace.
They sort of redeemed it.
Yeah, so that is a weird choice for them to make. I think it goes back to our critique that we've talked about before, where it just feels like the show serves too many characters. They have to give everybody something to do, and when that happens, you have to sacrifice story.
And I wish they could I wish they could prioritize. And like, I think, obviously it's a problem of plenty, right? They've got a lot of really good characters, but I mean, prioritize. Like here you have Alex Danvers. This is her, her primary love interest is probably the person that she's going to end up with at the end of the series. Now that we're in the last season, you really don't want to show this big milestone in their relationship. We need to watch William, watch television. Did we need that scene of Andrea trying to go and like interview Lena? We could have just had that scene of them at the end, and I don't think we would have lost much.
Yeah, because she didn't succeed in
nothing happened.
Yeah. Lena just got mad and walked out. Okay, so final thoughts. Did you like this? Did you not like this? Would you watch it again? I guess are all my questions.
Yeah. I think this one was a wild one too. I wasn't confused like I was last week. I did follow what was happening. I didn't feel like I was in a fever dream, but in those court scenes, I did. I think the courtroom, the Kelly and Alex stuff, and the courtroom stuff really soured what, like, otherwise I think would have been kind of a solid episode. I think if they had done away with a lot of that insane court stuff, and instead focused their attention on the Phantom Zone stuff, like the stuff with the Phantom Zone, the stuff with Silas and trying to get into the Phantom Zone, and even like the Nia stuff, training up her powers, all that was good. It was when we got to the court and nothing made sense with reality. Like nothing, like the court scene in reality, if it was a Venn diagram, there'd be no overlap. So that to me kind of like it was so crazy. It took me out of it. It's like you can just like, if you're curious about what you're supposed to write, like you're not a lawyer, probably if you're doing it, maybe you don't know any lawyers, just watch a Law and Order then, right? You don't even, maybe consult with a lawyer. That would be great. That might be asking too much. Watch a Law and Order.
TV shows will do that. I mean, I guess good TV shows will do that. They'll consult police or legal teams, but I guess they figure it's a comic book show. Who cares?
Like, find a lawyer and text them, right? Just please, we managed to do it. We're a podcast.
Yeah, I have to say I've been disappointed with the first 2 episodes of this season. They had so much time to write this season and really figure out what they were going to do. And these are the 2 episodes that have come out of it so far. And it's not giving me a lot of hope for the rest of the season. I was disappointed that we didn't get as much about Kara in the Phantom Zone. That was what I was really excited about. And it just kind of didn't seem like there was much. It seems like they're going to really speed through the Phantom Zone stuff. And that's kind of a disappointment for me. Some good stuff with the brainy dreamer. I think those scenes were good. And the Kelly Silas scene I really liked. So there were some good points to it. But overall, I'm just I haven't been really won over by an episode of season 6 so far. So hopefully we have nowhere to go but up. So that's my optimistic look on it so far. Well, I guess that's going to do it for our thoughts on a few good women, but let's find out what our Twitter people had to say about the episode. So let's get those tweets ready.
Sure. At Pretty Girl Ninja said it was an okay episode. My highlight was the bangless Kara. My low light was the show erasing Kara's backstory of both her parents sacrificing themselves so she'd survive. I guess Crisis brought her parents back, and I'm not a fan.
No, actually, Alora was back in season 3, which was pre-Crisis. So it's not like they're using Crisis to just undo all of that stuff. It was already kind of undone on the Alora side in season 3.
They're already kind of undoing it a little bit. I think I could accept the Zor-El twist if they hadn't already brought Alora back. I think you get one or the other. Both is a little bit like, why even have that backstory?
Yeah, I can see them wanting to have that happy ending, but I don't know. I think it ruins a little bit of that backstory for me.
I agree. At Clyde1 said the opening fight scene with Brainy was painful to watch. So painful. Dreamers as yet to be explained powers are sure do come in handy, especially with a never before seen Martian brain boost. That also might have come in handy before now. Zor-El is a real downer. The effects, you tell him. The effects there were uber awful. I know it's the last season, but come on, CW. William needs to go already. On the bright side, Cryer was great, and Lena's apartment is fire. And what was Jean doing with that little shield in front of his face? The phantoms were pretty cool looking, but what are they shooting? Phantom energy? I don't get it. Listen, I can't critique any energy shooting anymore after like all of the dream stuff.
It is what it is.
Apparently you can shoot your dreams out at people. So sure, the phantoms can do what they want. At Patty Mello 20 said, I have no words to describe how bad this episode was. I'm speechless. The most ridiculous thing about it was Lena not working on the portal to save Supergirl. The only good thing was Kara and her fight to try to get out of the Phantom Zone. I love how Kara never gives up. At SL Fricky said, vampire stories come from a made-up planet called Transylvania and not, the real-life region of Transylvania in Romania. Kind of offensive. They put as that's really good. They put as much effort into that as Seg-El did naming his sons, Jor-El and Zor-El. That's true. He kind of phoned it in. Also, who objects to beef Wellington opinions? At Ferreira 365 said, is this the Supergirl TV show? Because it seems that Supergirl in both episodes so far is only in it for 10 minutes. I like the other characters, but they need to show more of her, especially if this is the very last season.
I agree.
Definitely agree. At Frack Tall Inverter said, this episode had some minor issues, but ultimately I really enjoyed it. Even though we're not getting much Kara time, the time we do get is focused on her, which has been rare. The episode works well within the context of their universe, and use of powers synced better with heroes. At Rog Vortex 58 said, Kara had more of an emotional reaction to seeing her mother alive on Argo. Is she not even going to give her dad a hug? Also, I can't be the only one disappointed that Zor-El didn't offer her any squirt to drink.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't lean into that Supergirl the movie stuff.
Not even a little squirt. I know.
Yeah, it was much more dramatic when she found Allura.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that, like, you touched on definitely, but yeah, no hug, no nothing. It was kind of, it felt like almost a little bit of a cold reaction. Like she was so focused on the Phantom Zone stuff that she was kind of like, oh yeah, dad's there. Okay. At the Bronze Eagle 1 said, I could complain about the inaccurate courtroom scenes or Nia's inconsistent powers, but if I'm being honest, that's not why I watch. I love the character interactions between Lena and Lex and Andrea. Kara's scenes were emotional and well acted. I've long since accepted that there will be inconsistencies in the show and bad overarching plots. I just watch for the characters. It's not a very optimistic way to look at the show, but it's how I enjoy it. So I did enjoy this episode, but it's solidly in the guilty pleasure category.
I think that's actually a really optimistic way to look at the show.
I think that's a great perspective that you've put yourself in. And I think it's probably the right one, honestly. So kudos for you. At Kenny Craley said, some good stuff with Supergirl and the Phantom Zone with Zor-El. Nia and Brainy stuff is interesting, and the Lex Luthor scenes are good, but a bit too much. At Electra WWF says, I like the episode, but would have liked it more if they had actually let us see Alex tell Kelly about Kara. What was the point of mentioning it last week if it wasn't leading to an important dancing moment this week? Good questions. At Kara Zor-El 0927 said, for me, I think so far season 6 is a bit of a mess from the writing standpoint. The story moments and characterization are all over the place, and there are some points that just don't make any sense. It's also.
I mean, I was going to say that, but I'm glad that somebody else said it for me.
That's a quick summation of how I feel as well. At Laura Redenbaugh said, please let the Phantom kidnap Lex and take him into the zone.
Oh, he could go there. Maybe they'll send him there.
He could go there maybe for a little while. Maybe he just wants to get away from it all, from
he says he's been in and out of prisons, but he hadn't been in and out of that one.
He sure hasn't. And he's been in a lot of the show. Maybe he wants to take a little break, just kind of kick it up in the Phantom Zone. Stop taking so much screen time away from Cora. Olin Samuel said, McGann being Space Mom, can we keep her? And at least one writer, knowing their Supergirl continuity, correct number of Jean's daughters, season 3 finale callback, and Nia mentioning her sister. I did notice all that. Good call out.
Yeah.
Really tired of Lex being around. John Cryer is delightful, but come on. Show, I keep thinking, having had Brenda Strong as Lillian since season 2, she could have been the big bad Luthor all along. Random thoughts. Will they eventually write an actual arc on Jeremiah's murder or nah?
I'm thinking nah.
Yeah, definitely. And I am no guitar hero says, I thought the Phantoms looked familiar. I think this is what was ringing a bell. Any Star Trek fans out there? This is Crawl from Star Trek Beyond.
They look similar.
Oh wow. No, yeah, that they really do.
Yeah, so good call. I wouldn't have caught that. I am not a Trekkie.
Yeah,
I'm more of a Star Wars person. So that's good to know. Good call. Well, we have an email from Daryl who writes, quote, why doesn't Lex just blackmail Eve with information about how she killed Jeremiah? I won't be satisfied until the truth comes out about this very major plot point, unquote. That's a really good question. I don't know. She did kill a dude, but I guess maybe this will be a question for the Supergirl Radio Legal Consultants as well. But I guess she got a plea deal. I don't know. Leslie, are you still around? Do you want to? She might be stepping away. But I guess that's the thing. I think she may have taken a plea deal. With the.
I feel like
prosecution,
Lex, like trying to blackmail Eve would make, and that's how he somehow gets out of it, would make more sense than Lex just giving like a really dramatic speech that's actually really super unhinged and everybody being like, oh, I loved that. It was like a hope speech in May.
Yeah, Susan just sent us a message saying, I don't think a plea deal was mentioned. So, but Lex seemed to think she had one. She got immunity. So hopefully that will answer your question. But I don't think they're going to ever talk about it with Jeremiah, but I think they should.
R.I.P. Jeremiah. Nicole sent us an email to mention that apparently Black goes first in chess in this post-crisis universe. Careless error in a year where Queen's Gambit made a real splash. I was not alone in my disbelief over a supposed chess grandmaster not knowing the rules of the game.
Yeah, this is a really interesting point because it wasn't something that I thought of while I was watching, because I don't play chess. I don't know these things. But I wonder if it was intentional, because the dialogue that Lex says when they're playing chess in that scene, he says, if you can get them to buy it long enough, the lie that he's telling about himself, they stop being able to discern whether you're telling it like it really is or how you want them to believe. So if I'm putting the writing in the best possible light, maybe they were showing like, you can still do the wrong thing if someone is believing that you're doing the right thing. Like if somebody's buying into, like if Lillian was like, oh, I guess this is how chess is played. I don't know. I guess I'm sort of tying that to his dialogue, that like he's fooling people and being able to manipulate a situation.
Jedi mind trick, like Black goes first now.
But it could also just be they don't know the rules of chess.
I feel like one of those two explanations is very generous and the other one is accurate. And I'm not going to say which is which. But that's an awesome write-in because I didn't notice it, obviously, but I did watch Queen's Gambit. So obviously I got nothing from that bad television show.
Well, now I got to watch the Queen's Gambit.
It's very good.
I've heard very good things. Well, Kanisha wrote in to ask the question, quote, does Lex know Kara is in the Phantom Zone? Does Lena know Kara is in the Phantom Zone? She was preoccupied with Lex's trial, and I don't remember her helping the Super Friends or the vampire alien with the new portal. She probably could have been a lot of help there. That's a really good point. At the end of the previous episode, she was in the fortress to punch Lex after his powers were taken away, so she must have known, but I don't understand why Lena would rather deal with her family trauma than work on getting Kara out of the Phantom Zone, unquote. That's a really good point. She did not seem bummed out that her supposed best friend was in another dimension. So that is a really good point.
Yeah, that really is. I was surprised that Lena wasn't involved now that she's a super friend, that she wasn't like weirding everybody out by being too involved in this. Like, hey guys, I brought popcorn. I guess that's next week. Like, she's gonna be a little bit too much for everybody. They're gonna be like, we do like you. You just need to like care less about it. Like, you need to try less. And she's like, okay, so I shouldn't have gotten us Team Supergirl matching sweatshirts. Or V sent us an email to say, can we take a moment to appreciate that Silas is basically a vampire, and the modernized Carmilla web series based on the novel Carmilla from 1872 is about vampire infested Silas University in Styria, Austria. I love that show, so this was either a very nice nod or a crazy coincidence. Either way, I was super excited about it.
I bet that's where that comes from.
I bet
that's
that
why
is
he's named Silas. So that's a really, really good thing to point out.
I have heard great things about that web series, so
I have never heard of it until this email, so I'm glad to know about it. Well, Sony Ravat wrote in to say, quote, from the beginning of the series, Kara's talked about the Phantom Zone being a place of her worst nightmares, and yet we never saw what her nightmares look like. She narrated the whole incident instead of us actually seeing it. Did we really need to see the whole trial of Lex, which made no sense instead of Kara's trauma? The biggest waste of storyline was Kara meeting Zor-El. Would it have made any difference if instead of Zor-El, someone else had found Kara? No, because he had no purpose in the episode. The things he said could have been said by anyone who was stuck there for a long time. Kara seeing her father should have been messy. She should have blamed him for sending her away, and as a result, her getting stuck for decades in a place that became her hell. Or how about creating Medusa or not doing anything to save Krypton? But no, her reaction was so anticlimactic, like the time she met her mother in season 3. The show made a big deal of it, but then it felt so bland. She never confronted Allure for not finding her or using her as bait to capture Astra. Nothing. But for that matter, she also never said a thing to Clark for abandoning her when she was a teenager. All these things are important and should have been explored. I don't know why the show is so afraid to say that Kara can be and should be or should be angry with all these people. She should be allowed to be a well-rounded character. Yes, she can love people, but people have complicated relationships with their families all the time, which the show perfectly explores with Lena. So why not do the same with Kara like they used to do in season 1? Kara is the hero of the series, but that doesn't mean she has to be a two-dimensional character whose only job is to give hope speeches and punch hard. Her complexity should come from her family trauma and abandonment issues. I hate when I can tell what every character in the show is going through, except Kara. That is a really good point.
That is a really good point, because I think this email was really right in saying, like, Kara's reaction to Zor-El was very much like, just a random character who happens to be in the Phantom Zone. Like, all their dialogue was about the Phantom Zone, how to get out of the Phantom Zone. It was nothing about like, hey, I found out some things about you recently, like within the last couple of years that I don't like, or hey, it's great to see you again, my dead dad.
Yeah. Yeah, she immediately went to let's get out of here.
Yeah,
So,
pretty fast.
does seem like they are rushing some stuff. Let's see. I think we're on Bran's email.
Yeah, Bran wrote in saying, I admit I was skeptical based on what I'd heard about this episode, but it was surprisingly good. The beginning had strong Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes. Nia at Catco was hilarious too. You could almost see the internal monologue of, wait, we're supposed to actually cover things unrelated to our superhero identities? Cara told me we just had to be here for meetings and write about ourselves. Andrea has clearly caught on that Supergirl likes Nia and William. It was also super cool to see Kara's dad, even if he seems like a phantom. The episode definitely felt Kara focused, even for most of the Earth scenes, and seemed to foreshadow interesting developments for the rest of the season, including hope that we'll see some resolution with Nia's sister.
That would be great. I think that would be good great. For the character of Nia.
She did bring her up finally, so I feel like it would be nice to circle back around to like a nice, Nia story.
I mean, if you put something in an episode, you need to pay it off, right? That's how that works.
I mean, not always here though.
Unless you delete the scene with the payoff.
Oh my God.
And our final email, I believe, comes from Mark, who had some feedback about Rebirth. And he says, quote, if I remember correctly, in discounting the crisis of infinite excuses, M'gann is a white Martian. Wasn't she actually unable to mind connect and perform the bond, I think he said, with Jean because of that when she first arrived? Or was it just that she didn't want to do so because her being a white Martian with her personal terrible secret? Second, on a show that was initially about a woman discovering and embracing herself and her inner strength, I wasn't super happy with Jean essentially telling Alex, I used to be your boss, and I remember this person on Mars who I've never mentioned to you before, but I happen to have this he wrote the word ingot. I don't know what that means, but maybe it's like a symbol or some kind of thing here that so. Just somebody look up that word INGOT. Tell me what it means here. That just came out of the props department 3D printer, and that looks weirdly like a stylized comet. So let's just say that you'll be using that person's name and symbol from now on. Okay. And I'm going to need you to work Saturday. Also, given everything that happened since last spring, that Batwoman logo on the Justice League board looked glaringly out of place.
Oh, by the way, an ingot is a block of steel, gold, silver, or other metal, typically oblong in shape.
Oh, well, that's that actually makes sense now. Okay, thank you for looking that up. Mark goes on to talk about this week's episode, A Few Good Women. As far as this week's episode goes, after what Morgan mentioned about another show in the eye makeup a couple of weeks ago, I think you were talking about the dupes on Roswell.
Yes.
Is it possible that superhero Alex is actually her evil twin? I loved it. He also says, I've loved John Cryer's Lex, but at this point it feels like they were just too lazy to think up a new villain for the final season. And he's reminding me of Sylar still hanging around in season 4 of Heroes. Oh, that's such a good comparison. Because Sylar didn't. He was great at the beginning. It didn't make much sense for him to be there by the end. And Mark says, just pack him off to jail already. It was great to see Kelly actually being a therapist instead of a quantum wave radiologist or whatever else they had her doing last season. And I suppose we should just count our blessings that no one thought it would be a good idea to do a deep fake Peter O'Toole in as Zor-El, but I'm still anticipating him offering her a squirt. So a lot of our listeners really want to see that parallel to Supergirl, the movie.
I really want, since we're in the Phantom Zone, can we get some call out to Supergirl the movie, but just before they leave the Phantom Zone? That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for anybody to snap. I'm not asking for a turtle boy or girl.
Those are too much to ask.
Too much to ask. I get it. Director Bones, too much. Too much. Just somebody offer a squirt.
We don't ask for much. It's really...
We're not asking for much.
All right. So I think we have some people we need to bring in for some snap judgments. So what we're trying to do with the Patreon right now is getting folks who do go to the either the Snappy Listener or the Boardroom Boss levels to bring them on with us to make some snap judgments. So I see Susan just became a Snappy listener. Oh. So we're going to bring Susan, the legal Supergirl Radio Legal Consultant, back on. We're going to bring Leslie back on, and it looks like we also have Ermgard here. So we've got a full house making snap judgments. So everybody, get ready. This is going to be a doozy. All right. And just since we have a lot of people on the stream, if you're not talking, mute yourself if possible, and then bring yourself back up when you want to speak. Okay, so let's get into snap judgments once I get the intro in, and we'll be right back to make some snap judgments. In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary. Okay, so we have a lot of snap judgments to get through, and I know we're kind of running long. So these have to be literally snap judgments. So we'll go through them. So first one that we'll get to right now, because I see it in the chat. Claudia says snap judgment: bigger surprise character, Dracula or Zor-El? So I guess she was. Is this Claudia? Is this Dracula, or is this Silas Dracula? Let us know in the chat.
Silas.
Yeah. Okay. So, how are we feeling about Silas versus Zor-El? So I guess we'll start with Susan. Who would you pick as your bigger surprise character?
Definitely Dracula.
Dracula. All right, Leslie. What would you say to the snap judgment?
Dracula, because I wanted Zoltar, not Zor-El.
Yes. Same here. All right. Irmgard, who would you pick?
Dracula, definitely.
Yes. Alien vampires. Who knew?
Yeah, I think Full House for Dracula.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll go Zor-El. I'm disappointed he's not Zoltar, but he's Supergirl's dad. I guess I'll go to it. So Morgan, who would you pick? You'd pick Silas?
Oh, also Dracula. I was like, what's happening here?
All right, so we're gonna get to some snaps that were sent into us. So these are from Gina. So scene that should have been shown: Lena's feelings on Kara being stuck in the Phantom Zone, or Alex telling Kelly Kara is Supergirl. Which one would you have rather seen? Susan, which one would you pick?
I would rather have seen Lena's reaction to Kara, but I think that for the show's purposes, the glaring omission was the Kelly-Alex conversation.
Oh, absolutely. So Leslie, which one would you have rather seen?
Kelly-Alex.
Yeah. Irmgard, I have a feeling I know which one you're going to say, but what would you pick?
Yeah, I'm sure you remember my tweets that night. Dancing all the way, people. Come on, seriously. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the only reason I didn't. It just was wrong. Like I said, I've been a long time watcher ever since it started, and that just was wrong to Alex and Kelly, and long time watchers of the show, I think.
Yeah, there's big disrespect to the characters in that relationship. Morgan, which one would you have rather seen? Lena's reaction to Kara being the Phantom Zone, or Alex telling Kelly about Supergirl?
Alex and Kelly, they built it up and then they just dropped it. It was worse than when they dropped storylines between season 1 and 2. It was worse than the James and Kara thing. Like, don't tell me that you have a dramatic secret to share and then not see and then share it off screen. That's like writing 101.
It's not like they've ever done this on the show before, where they had somebody with a deep dark secret and then they cut it on the cutting room floor.
I'll never know.
P.S. I got an email from Mark about Jean's secret. So if we want to spoil, do we want to keep it a mysterious secret for the rest of Supergirl Radio, or do we want to know what it was?
Did we find out what it was?
We do know what it is. So I don't know. We'll have to consider maybe talking about Jean's super secret.
Whole episode about that.
We could. The TBD hiatus. We're going to talk about Jean's
dramatic reveal,
which everyone probably already knows, but we're still.
We should just have everybody send in what they think Jean's deep dark secret is, and then we read all of the different theories, and then at the end we tell them what it actually was.
I love it. We're going to do it for sure. All right. So the next one from Gina: if you're feeling down, which would help? Andrea bringing a bottle of scotch, or Alex bringing bags of pot stickers? Which one would you rather have? Susan?
D, all of the above.
You gotta pick one: scotch or pot stickers.
Pot stickers.
Okay. All right, Leslie, which one are you making yourself feel better with?
Pot stickers.
Pot stickers. All right, Irmgard, which one would you pick?
I like my whiskey, but I'd rather have pot stickers from Alex.
Yeah. That would be a fun time to get some pot stickers with the Danvers sisters. Morgan, which one are you consuming?
Scotch is too much for me, so I'm going pot stickers. I don't want anything that's going to burn on the way down. So.
I cannot handle that hard liquor. I guess I will say pot stickers, but I've never had them, so I don't really know what they are. I guess I'll have to try them sometime.
Oh my God, they're so good, Rebecca. You've gotta try them.
All right,
they're just dumplings.
Oh, okay.
It's a regional thing. Dumplings versus pot stickers.
Gotcha. Well, in that case, pot stickers for sure. All right, the last one from Gina: alien vampires or alien dragons? Because we've had both of those. So, Susan, which one are you picking?
Definitely the vampires, just because Claude is so adorable.
Yes, he's done a good job. Leslie, which one are you picking? Vampires or dragons?
I like Silas, but I like dragons, so I'm going with dragons.
Why am Spike the Dragon? That was the name of the alien dragon that we had. So Irmgard, which one do you prefer?
Sorry to Claude, but I take Spike the Dragon. You can pick him up and pet him.
Yeah, he grows and shrinks down, and so you can like pick him up and take him with you. Morgan, which one are you picking?
Silas was great. I love a good vampire, but I can't turn down a pet. So sorry, it's the dragon.
Spike the Dragon was so cute with Supergirl. I'm picking alien dragons for myself. Okay, so these are from Nicole. Portals or pods? This is the age-old question on Supergirl Radio. So Susan, do you have a preference? I guess the question is if you're gonna escape somewhere. Maybe that's how we should think about it. If you had to escape, would you want to use a portal or a pod?
I think I'm going for pods because they're more fun when they crash.
Oh, that is true. Leslie, if you're going to escape somewhere, are you using a portal or a pod?
Portals, but there were too many portals in Rebirth. But portals.
So many. All right, Irmgard, which one are you picking?
I guess I'm gonna have to go with pods. Portals, you never know if you come all the way on the other side altogether again.
That's a really good scientific question. Are you going to come out like missing an arm? Like what? I mean, I guess if you're using vibe technology, I guess you're fine. But Morgan, what would you pick?
I'm going portals. I don't have to do airfare anymore. Yeah, definitely.
I like the idea of just stepping through something and going to the other side, but I also like the idea of being in a spaceship. So and I could crash somewhere and be like the next guest star of a TV show for that season. So I think I'm picking pods on that one. All right, so the next one from Nicole, which would you rather watch? This is going to be a good one for the legal consultants. Which would you rather watch? Realistic legal proceedings or inaccurate but dramatic courtroom scenes? So, Susan, where do you come down on this?
I come down on dramatic but completely unrealistic because realistic are boring, and I sit through a lot of them all day.
You don't want to watch that on a TV show? So, Leslie, which one are you picking? Would you rather have it be accurate or dramatic?
Dramatic, but not ridiculous. And we got ridiculous this week.
That seems fair. That seems like a reasonable thing to think. So, Irmgard, what are you picking for courtroom scenes?
Dramatic. As long as it's not another Luthor trial, though.
We've put the Luthors on trial so many times on Supergirl. Morgan, which one would you pick?
This is tough. Like, is it highly edited? Because if so, then it's just all the murder documentaries I watch. So maybe realistic. But I feel like if I had to sit through like an entire long realistic trial, then dramatic would be my choice.
I like a good like a realism into it. I really liked The Closer because it, on TNT, I know, Leslie, we talked about that before, where it was like pretty accurate to how policing is done. And so I like that a lot better. And I get upset when things are not correct. So that's what I would pick, realistic legal proceedings. All right. So the next one is Kara's excuses for missing work or Nia's excuses for missing work. So who lies about their inability to work better, Kara or Nia? Susan, who would you pick?
Nia lies better because Kara just disappears, doesn't lie at all.
She doesn't even bother.
Leslie, who gives the better excuses for work, Kara or Nia?
Well, Kara's been at it longer, but she's not very good, and so I would say Nia.
All right, Irmgard, who would you pick?
Nia also.
Morgan,
yes.
who's your pick?
Nia at least attempts it, so I'm going to give it to her.
Car is just a bad liar because she doesn't want to lie to people. So I think Nia's probably better at that because she doesn't have maybe that qualm about it. Okay, so the next snap judgment is a best moment of frustration: Alex throwing Chinese food across the kitchen or Brainy snapping a keyboard in half. So which one was the better moment of frustration? Susan.
I am all about the splattering Chinese noodles.
What a waste of food. Leslie, which one was the better moment of frustration?
It's hard. I liked both. I think I'm going to go with Brainy snapping the keyboard.
Nice. Irmgard, which one would you pick?
Well, if Alex would have thrown all of the food on the ground, I would have said her. And I'm thinking she probably didn't want to throw it all on the ground because they all wanted to eat after they were done with the scene. So I'm going to go with Brainy. He was better.
Nice. Yeah, Brainy actually did completely destroy the keyboard. So there's that for him. So Morgan, which one would you pick?
I'm going to go with snapping the keyboard because I think she makes a good point. Like, Alex only threw a couple of those containers, but she's like, we are going to be hungry later. So, we're going to save that lo mein. But I'll throw the pot stickers. But Brainy did snap the one keyboard he had on his computer. So,
also, why does Brainy need a keyboard?
That is a good question, isn't it?
Yep. He can control all kinds of technology. Why would he? I'm not even going to ask the question. Okay, so the last one from, I think this is Nicole. Yeah, this one is from Nicole. Boardroom or Ballroom crossover event. Lena's courtroom outfit in season 4 or Lena's courtroom outfit in season 6 from this week. And I have photo comparisons if you need a refresher. So which was the better courtroom outfit from Lena? So Susan, season 4 or season 6?
Season 6, not even a close call.
Yeah. Leslie, which one would you pick?
I think the more appropriate attire for the courtroom would have been season 6. However, that season 4, that striped blouse, and she's wearing a leather skirt. And so I'm partial to the season 4. So I'm going to go season 4.
Nice. Irmgard, which one would you pick?
Season 6, way better.
Solid choice. Morgan, this is a real thinker. Which one are you picking here?
It is a real thinker. The season 4 was a good look, a strong contender. But in season 6, she said, throw open those doors. I'm incriminating myself, but I'm going to look gorgeous while doing so. So I'm going season 6.
Yeah, I'm also going to go season 6. But to Leslie's point, season 4 was also a great look. So good for Lena with both of those courtroom outfits. All right, so Leslie actually sent these in. So what was the better special effect in the premiere in Rebirth? Magan and Jean destroying the satellites when they were up in space, or Supergirl defeating the Leviathan robot? And remind me, Supergirl defeating the Leviathan robot. When did she do that? I'm trying to remember. I'm
trying to think.
When she put the thing in the thing.
when she like murdered Pencil Skirt, basically.
Yes.
R.I.P.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's
she put the thing that Alex gave her into that tower.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
What was it?
The USB thing in the port.
I'm there now. Okay. All right. So, what was the better special effect? Magan and Jean destroying the satellites, or Supergirl getting rid of Pencil Skirt? Much to my dismay. Susan, which one was the better use of special effects?
I'm struggling with this one because I thought the USB in the port was one of the most ridiculous things I've seen in a long time. But the special effect after she did it was really cool. So I think I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Leslie, what's your pick on this one?
Satellites.
Okay. Irmgard, what's your pick?
I think the USB too, because afterwards, what happened? She went like up into smoke. So yeah, that one was better, I think.
All right, and Morgan, what's your choice here?
I think it was the satellites. I think the in the sky was a little bit more exciting.
I think Magan and Jean, it was a neat use of their powers, because normally like David Harewood's just in a scene like doing this and like
looking kind of looks like he's got a headache.
Yeah, like so it's actually cool to see them in space as Martians like doing that. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so the next one from Leslie is, in the premiere in Rebirth, what was worse, Lillian's pink pantsuit or Alex's eye makeup? So which one was worse, Susan?
There's very little you could put on this list that wouldn't be worse than Alex's eye makeup, so I'm going for that one.
All right, Leslie, what are you going to pick there?
I thought Lillian's pantsuit was garish. However, the eye makeup is horrible and distracting, so I will go with eye makeup.
Gotcha. Was that the one where she had like pants that were not all the way down? I felt like those pants were a little short, like she was, waiting for a flood or something. But she's also very tall, maybe it's hard to find those kinds of pants. So I'm not going to judge it too much. Irmgard, which one was worse, Lillian's pantsuit or Alex's eye makeup?
We need to calm down on the eye makeup. It's definitely the eye makeup. It needs to get a little bit lesser. Or give her glasses, sunglasses. I don't know.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Like some tactical glasses. I could be into that.
Yeah, I mean, like Tony Stark has, right? They bring up a thing and stuff. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, give her some of those Batfleck glasses from Zack Snyder's Justice League, although he wears them in the other one too, but we're not going to talk about that. Morgan, which one is your pick for which one was worse?
Oh boy, that eyeshadow. There's not much you can say about it.
We might be 5 for 5. I'm gonna go Alex's.
I think the panel has agreed.
They need to just go back to the drawing board on this one. Okay, so what was cringier or more cringy? Lex singing "My Way" by Frank Sinatra twice in season 4, or "We Are the Champions" in Rebirth. So we're going for cringy here. So Susan, which one was cringier for you?
I think I'm going to go with "We Are the Champions" because somehow Frank Sinatra just seems more appropriate than Queen.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I like that Frank Sinatra was tied to Lex. That was kind of a neat choice. Leslie, which one is your pick here?
My Way. I can't stand it. And I wish he wouldn't sing.
Yeah, he did overdo it, I think, in that season. So that's a fair point. Irmgard, what's your pick here?
It would be "We Are the Champions" because he's not a rocker. He's a gentleman villain. He's not a rocker villain.
Yeah, maybe it's not his kind of music. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Morgan, what's your level of cringe here?
Yeah, "We Are the Champions" definitely over he seems like the kind of dude who would be way too into "My Way," like as like a life like philosophy. He's like, no, I'm gonna do it my way, just like old Frankie says. And like, no, that's not. You don't have to live your life like that song. But the "We Are the Champions" just seemed like a weird choice.
Yeah, it did seem to kind of come out of nowhere. This is tough because I did sort of like his playing with the sword, and then he blew up the stuff in the fortress. So some of the presentation there I thought was pretty good. It's tough. That's tough. I think because I like him more associated with Frank Sinatra, I'm gonna go that Queen was cringier. So I guess we'll say that one. All right. So the next one is, what was the worst courtroom scene? This is gonna be a tough one. Lena and James testifying at Lex's first trial in House of L. Or Lena testifying in Lillian's trial okay, all right, so help me out with this, Leslie. Is it the House of L when James was testifying at Lex's trial, then Lena testifying at Lillian's trial, and then there's also
the Super Life. That one's from the 100th episode.
Yeah, so that's the one where she like pleads.
She took the fifth.
She took the fifth.
So those are the 3 courtroom trials that we're talking about here. And so the question is, which one was the worst? Susan, what are your thoughts on this?
I think I've blocked them all out except for this week, so I'm going to just take that for lack of recollection of anything else in detail.
Repression of the other scenes. So Leslie, what is your personal opinion?
A Few Good Women. That was the worst.
That's a big offender. Offender. Irmgard, which one would you say was the worst courtroom scene?
I'm gonna have to say this one because I sat down the next day and I timed everybody's time to just see how much time each character had, and the court scene was the longest out of all scenes. So that one definitely.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me, but it's kind of surprising. But
it was
be.
Actually, I just timed the Luthors, which meant either Lena, Lillian, or Lex in the scene, and that came up over 14 minutes for the whole episode. That's too much.
That is a good
like
chunk.
Half.
Yeah, for an episode about a few good women, Lex was in it a lot.
So many Lex scenes.
Morgan, which is your worst courtroom scene?
I feel like my soul left my body watching this episode's courtroom scene, A Few Good Women. Like, I was like, I don't know what's happening. Everything's wrong. Like, so I'm going to give it to this one, because the other ones I went, I don't think that's how it works. Like, but this one I was sure I knew that wasn't how it worked.
Yeah, I think A Few Good Women is probably the worst one, but I think the other two, I knew it was probably not accurate, but I enjoyed them. This one was kind of just weird. So I'll probably agree with you on that. All right, so y'all strap in. These snap judgments are from Anna.
No.
So get ready. We're gonna really go into some things. All right, so what did Alex do with all the pot stickers? All right, so here are your options. The first option is she threw them out piece by piece while alternating between sobbing and yelling in anger at the loss of the person she had promised and failed to protect. Or here's the second one. Alex spent the night breaking into random apartments and throwing pot stickers at confused people while yelling, "You're not Kara and you'll never be, but take this." So those are your two options. So
I'm going for number 2 based on laughter quotient.
Okay, all right. So she's throwing pot stickers at confused people. Okay.
I mean, I think she's throwing pot stickers at anything in her orbit on the Earth.
Yeah. All right. So Leslie, which one are you picking for Alex?
One is in character with Alex's character, but 2 is definitely funnier. So
okay, so we're going with 2. All right, Irmgard, I know you're a big Alex fan. Which one do you think she's doing?
Seeing as they said in the description that Alex was going to have a breakdown, it should have been number 1. And look at that one, tearing it apart, crying, and you bastards. Yeah, would have been number 1 for me.
But isn't throwing food at random people? Isn't maybe that's also a sign of a mental breakdown?
Things aren't going well for you if you're breaking into.
But remember how they said it was going to be a big breakdown. It was a tiny breakdown. So yeah, the number 1 would have took longer. Than
true. That's fair. Morgan, what do you think Alex is doing?
I have to go with number 2 because I like the combination of like a breakdown, but also being kind of helpful. Like, here, take this pot sticker. Kara can't eat it.
She's just helping other people out.
Going around to all her neighbors here, like, you want some pot stickers? My sister's in the Phantom Zone. Like, okay, that's too much information, Alex Danvers.
Oh my God, please post Nicole's comment.
Is it rage fugue with pot sticker projectiles? So yeah, I think I like the second one, so I'm going to go with that as well. Okay, so this is the next one from Anna. All right, so the question is, what will happen with Kara and her father? Here's your first option. As they finally escape, it is revealed he is nothing more than a phantom hallucination, and Kara begins to sob as there's a lot of sobbing in Anna's judgment.
So much.
Kara begins to sob as she realizes she has been alone this whole time. Or, here's your second option. As they are about to escape, the phantoms converge and he sacrifices himself for her. And the last thing she sees is her father screaming in pain. I knew this was going to go somewhere, Anna. An image she'll have to live with the rest of her life. Okay, so the two options, phantom hallucination or screaming in pain. Susan, what's your choice?
I'm going with phantom hallucination. Although they'll probably end up doing screaming in pain because they have a tendency to completely upend Kara's entire reason for her personality and existence, which starts with her parents dying. And, they actually have to resurrect him as opposed to just having him resurrected as a fantasy. But I still like number 1 better.
All right. Good pick. Leslie, are you going phantom hallucination or screaming in pain?
I believe a hallucination, because if he's screaming in pain, that would make him real, and she would have to see him die. She suffered enough, so I think she can psychologically handle a hallucination better because she's been in the Phantom Zone and she knows what the Phantoms do.
That's a really good interpretation of that snap judgment. I like it. Irmgard, what do you think is happening with Zor-El?
Okay, if it wasn't the last season, I would say they would just make him a phantom thing. But seeing as it's the last season, they go, I think definitely he's going to die he's going to save his daughter, and it's gonna just add some more character to our character, I guess.
All right, you heard it here first. Irmgard thinks Zor-El is no longer for this world, so we're going to come back if you got that right. All right, so Morgan,
we don't know if her mother is still alive. I mean, it's been after Crisis. They really haven't said if she's alive or not, right?
Well, that's
After
technically
Crisis.
true. They haven't said anything.
Yeah.
No,
I guess I just assume she is.
Oh,
She's
she is?
alive. Yes.
Did they say that? When did they say that?
Did they say it?
They said it in the 5th episode of Post Crisis.
All right, we're gonna have to go back and revisit that.
Yeah.
I remember being so confused after Crisis. I was like, "What is that?"
It was just
It was
a
dark
up
time.
the end statement by Kara. She's like, even Argo's up there. That's
Oh yeah, because Argo
right.
did
Yeah,
survive.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm glad we cleared that up. Okay, Morgan, which of these two choices are you picking?
Well, I think both of them are entirely plausible with like where we are in the story right now. I could see both of them happening. I think I pick Phantom though, because I think one, it's less trauma for Kara, and it kind of goes more into like being in the Phantom Zone, him being in a hallucination. So I go hallucination.
I like the idea of him being a hallucination because that's kind of a twist, but I think they're gonna maybe do the Supergirl the movie homage and have him die as he helps her out. So I think I'm gonna go screaming in pain. So that's gonna be it. Okay, so the next one is this the last one from Anna? Okay, so this is the last one from Anna. So here we go. So what would you rather see happen? Here's your first option: Kara alone and lost in the Phantom Zone, alternating in and out of torturous hallucinations, crawling through it all and screaming the names of those she loves as she fights to stay sane and escape. Or here's your second option.
This one's gonna be cheerful, right?
So cheerful. All right, so the second option is Lena entering the Phantom Zone, calling Kara's name as she begins to suffer from flashbacks of seeing Supergirl being beaten by rain, before finally Lena and Kara find each other and hug in relief, but it's too late and the Phantoms converge and drag them apart as they scream. So these are some real happy ending kind of stuff. So Susan, what would you let's see, what is the question here, just to make sure I get it correctly? What would you rather see happen? So this is based on your subjective opinion. Would you want to see Kara lost and alone in the Phantom Zone, or do you want to see it involve Lena?
I'm going with number 2 because I am continually frustrated by the show's lack of character development and interaction. And at least they both have a really horrible ending, but at least that one is enjoyable to watch up until the horrible ending.
True. Fair point. If you're going to have a horrible ending, at least have some good character stuff in there. Leslie, which one are you going to pick?
so both assume that she doesn't get out. Right?
Oh,
it does seem that way. It doesn't seem good for her.
It's an Anna Snap judgment, of course.
Right. So I wouldn't want Kara to be alone. So I would prefer that she have at least something. So I'll go with number 2.
Good point. Irmgard, which one would you rather see?
Seeing it's not Alex there, because that's the only way I would accept Kara dying in the end, is if her sister is there, which I know sounds kind of mean. But I go with number 1 by herself.
Gotcha.
If it's not Alex, no one else.
Yeah, Alex or nobody.
It's the soul of the show. It's those 2 sisters.
Agreed. Morgan, what would you pick in this really angsty Anna Snap? Sony put Anna drinks angst for breakfast.
She does. I want to pick neither. But I think if I had to pick one, I would pick the choice number 2 with Lena, for the similar reason that Susan said. Like, that gives us some character development. We would, see what the trauma that Kara was going through, that the Phantoms are bringing out, but also Lena. So maybe we get some Lena character development too, and kind of find out what her deep fears are. I mean, I would imagine like just her family, but horses maybe.
I'm actually going to go Kara by herself, like fighting through it. I want to see Kara have a really good storyline where she picks herself back up and gets yourself out of it. I would be really into that. So that's going to wrap us up on our Snap Judgments here. Thank you all for playing and being with us on this live stream. I'm now going to kick you out though. So have a great rest of your night. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for joining us.
And we'll be back with them another time. So everybody's going to get out of here. And let's see, sorry, Leslie, I'm going to kick you out. All right. So let's wrap up Snap Judgments, and then we're going to get to some plugs. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. Okay, well, that is going to wrap up our episode thoughts about season 6's episode, A Few Good Women. So while we're here, actually, let me I got to make sure I get the right plug in here. So let's get to some DC TV podcast plugs, and then we'll wrap this live stream up. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252 and make sure to write and call in before Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. You can find links to everything I just mentioned on supergirlradio.com on the right side of the page. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you are in need of some new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio, Superman and Lois Radio, The Flash Podcast, and Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, Black Lightning Podcast, Batwoman Podcast 2, and Titans and Doom Patrol Podcast just for you. Justice League Dark Podcast, Green Lantern Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Strange Adventures Podcast, and finally my favorite of the bunch, DC TV After Dark, where you're allowed to say fuck.
It's true.
Oh, so good.
It's true. You can say that on DC TV After Dark. And speaking of the DC TV podcast TeePublic store, we recently added the Lena Luthor protocol engaging Kryptonese in there. That makes no sense.
It doesn't mean anything, but
it's a really cool design based off what was on the show. But the only thing I could make out was like the letters TLWJVEIAWI, which means nothing. It means nothing. But if you want to get that shirt, head over to the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store. Link is in the video description and the show notes. We would appreciate your support. And we would also like to support our legion of super sponsors for supporting us through the Supergirl Radio Patreon. Those include Michael, Sam, Anne-Marie, Grout, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, the Supergirl Radio Legal Consultant, and now Susan, the Supergirl Radio Legal Consultant, Abby Armgard, who's made some snap judgments with us this episode, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, and Deb. Thank you all for supporting us. And if you would like to become a Legion of Super Sponsor, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. There are 4 levels that you can choose from, and there are monthly memberships, and it helps us keep the lights on with some of our fees and helps us do some more things with the podcast. And this is just if you want some extra Supergirl Radio. We're still going to deliver the free Supergirl Radio episodes that you love and enjoy, which I'm going to assume you love and enjoy. But the Patreon is just if you want some extra stuff. You can do that there. All right. And sorry, Morgan, did I interrupt you? Were you about to say something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Breathing. I was just breathing it in. All the love from the Patreon supporters.
All right. Well, you can follow me if you would like on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I post the occasional picture, and I'm also trying to get people to follow accounts I create, like at Bama Bugfest. You should totally follow it on Instagram because it's a part of my job. So I really love it if y'all follow it. It'll give you some bug content, which I know everybody wants to see. So you can follow me on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I also have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkpride. I am currently trying to organize a panel about Zack Snyder's Justice League with some friends of mine. So that'll probably be a live stream. So if you want to come hang out with us, subscribe to Duck Milk Prod. And I guess I could also promote The Fakest. I'm a voice. Morgan is also a couple of voices on The Fakest that you can go visit at thefakest.com. It's a sketch comedy podcast about a fake news team, and it's hilarious. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on in the season. I actually just recorded my last Leanne Snyder VOs the other night. It was kind of like it was kind of emotional a little bit. I've been with the Fakest for such a long time. But yeah, so and we also just I just found out, at least Morgan I think has known about this, but Abby from the Katie McGrath Book Club played Supergirl on the Fakest. So I can't wait to listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet. So I think that's awesome.
Friend of the pod. Bill had asked me like, "Oh, do you know anybody who could do the voice?" And I was up for the Supergirl, and I was like, "I actually have like a bunch of people, but."
So I think that's a great fit. She gets to play Supergirl. I'm very excited about listening to it. And if you're also interested in my thoughts on the DC films, you can check me out on the Justice League Universe podcast. But that's it for me.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. You can always find my cats on Instagram. They're at the Lab Cats on Instagram. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, where we have some fun stuff going on. We're going to be trying to do a recap of season 5, just trying to remember what happened in season 5 before it premieres in May. We also dropped our first Patreon exclusive because we felt bad. We were like, oh no, the quarter's closed and we haven't done anything. So what we gave our Patreon supporters is a Drunk Sarah episode. We had her go back to season 1, which was not a great season. And we had her watch an episode. We got her pretty drunk, and then we were like, what is this about? So if you want additional Drunk Sarah, there are the 2 previous episodes for free on our feed. But if you want that season 1 episode, you can check us out on patreon.com/Legends of Tomorrow podcast, and you can become a supporter, and then you can see how exhausted we by the end of that episode. It's like, which one is drunk? We were all so tired. We had like about 40 minutes of technological issues before we started recording. So we were so sleepy. And then you can also check me out on DC TV After Dark. We're trying to schedule our next episode, but our last episode featured our own Rebecca Johnson here. So
it sure did.
Fun times.
And I talked about how I can't finish reading that Tolstoy book that I started reading at the beach.
Get into it. You're going to finish it. I believe in you.
I wouldn't do that. No, I would not put your faith in me to finish a book. But yeah, definitely go check out the Legends of Tomorrow podcast and DC TV podcast, or just DC TV After Dark. I want to make sure I get that correct. All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon.
And we may not be from the Legion of Superheroes, but everything we do here at Supergirl Radio is through the lens of Supergirl. I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.